Yeah, this is case number 406 on the calendar in the matter of Coles versus Plunkett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
Miss Coles, how old are you?
19 years old.
Do you work?
Not at this time, I don't.
What do you do?
I was a student. I'm not doing anything right now.
Who do you live with?
My mother.
How do you know them?
I know Kunta Plunkett. I met him at a bar in the casino.
What's his first name?
Kunta.
Who is that?
That's me.
How old are you?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a millwright.
What does that mean?
It's like a machinist.
You get paid a weekly salary?
Yes.
What's your salary?
About $700.
And what do you do for a living?
Construction worker.
You his brother?
Yes.
How old are you?
28 years old.
How did you meet her?
We met at the casino last year.
Did you go out with her?
Yeah.
For how long?
About 7 months.
Did you go out with her exclusively?
Yeah.
So you didn't see anybody else?
I did not, no.
Okay. Now, Miss Coles, it's your claim that these two gentlemen scammed you out of almost $4,000. And I want you to tell me how that happened.
Okay, it came about that he asked me one day.
Who's he?
Kunta asked me if I had a checking account.
I want you to look at me when you speak. If you had a checking account.
If I had a checking account. And I told him yes. And then he said he knew a way that I can get free stuff. And he told me how it was done.
Well, why don't you explain to me what he said to you?
He said that...
I want you to look at me when
Okay.
you're explaining this.
I am. He said that we could get free stuff by me writing my name in different signatures on checks, take them to the stores, write the checks.
What do you mean he told you you write your name differently on the checks?
Like write your name on the checks differently.
So that you can then later say that it wasn't your signature?
Yes. Go to the bank after the checks went through.
Just a minute.
I'm sorry.
Okay. What were you going to tell them at the bank?
Let the bank contact me after the checks went through, and when the bank contacted me, let them know that I didn't write the checks. And he made it sound real good.
You mean like it was a good way of...
Like the bank would pay for everything. I wouldn't pay for anything. I was stupid.
Stupid. You knew that it was wrong. You knew it was wrong.
Not yes.
What do you mean not yes? What does that mean, not yes?
Yes, I knew it was wrong, but I guess I wasn't thinking at the time, Your Honor.
Well, you better start thinking.
I did right after it was too late.
So you went shopping with the two of them?
Yes, he asked me to buy some stuff for his brother, Arthur. His brother would pay me back.
No, he didn't.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
No, did you write checks for Arthur stuff?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you wrote checks for Arthur stuff, it was your intention, Miss Coles, that the bank was paying.
But he told me he would pay me. No, he did.
Miss Coles,
Okay.
let me make this clear to you. Already you told me that you were a thief. Shh, please, this is not funny. Already you explained to me in detail why you were a thief. I don't want you to be a liar, too.
I'm not.
Because listen to me carefully. What you just told me, Miss Coles, was that you went along with a scheme to defraud the bank by writing your signature in different ways so that later you could disclaim that you ever wrote those checks, so that the bank would think that somebody got a hold of your checks
Yes, ma'am.
and forged your signature, so that he wasn't going to pay you back for the stuff because you weren't going to pay for the stuff to begin with. The bank was going to pay for it.
But, Your Honor, they told me he would pay me. He said he would give me something. And after it was done that weekend, I realized that what I did was wrong. And I went to the bank. I called the attorney. I told her everything that happened. And she advised me to go to my bank and talk to my bank manager. That's exactly what I did. And I stopped myself from getting in any more trouble. And I paid $3,363 of it off, and I'm still paying for it. And all I want is for them to pay for the merchandise that they have. I want them to take responsibility of what they did.
What they did was make a fool out of you.
Yes.
According to you, what they did was make a fool out of you, but you were a thief. You were a forger.
But I don't have a background of I'm just a college student. I was doing good. I just want to go back to school and get my education. I don't have a background of stealing at all.
You did?
Yes, I did. And I learned my lesson. I just
all right. Now let me hear from you, the Plunkett boys.
You want to talk first?
Who you want to talk to first?
Whoever feels like talking to me.
Okay, well, first of all, her case is crazy. Well, she's crazy. But that weekend, she had told me she had cheated on me, and then I was like, well, I don't know about if I want to be with her or not. So I think that Friday we ended up going shopping. She didn't say nothing about.
I don't want to hear from you now. And
prior to that, I was.
Take a look at my eyes when we're speaking. Put your papers down.
I'm sorry.
Did you ever have a discussion with her, Mr. Plunkett, with regard to using various signatures on checks in order to defraud a bank?
No.
You think she made that up all by herself?
She must have. She's crazy.
No. Well, you were with her for 7 months, sir. When did you decide she was crazy?
Well, she looked up my criminal record. She was.
Was there a lot to look up, Mr. Plunkett?
I mean,
Please.
it doesn't matter. I mean,
No, it does. It matters.
That's my stuff.
Mr.
I mean,
Plunkett, pay careful attention to my questions.
yeah.
You had been arrested previously in what year?
92.
For what?
Drug selling.
Was that the first time, Mr. Plunkett, that you were arrested?
Yeah.
Shh, quiet.
No.
Let's take from 1996, Mr. Plunkett, forward. How many arrests do you have after 1996?
I had several. I mean, I really can't tell you. It was like minor stuff, driving on suspension. And
No,
stuff
I'm
like
not
that.
talking about driving with a suspended license. I'm talking about other things.
Felonies.
Felonies or misdemeanors?
That drug charge is probably the only felony that I had on there.
May I say something? I have a copy.
You have a copy of this
Yes,
arrest
ma'am.
record? Maybe it'll refresh his recollection. Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
That's how crazy she is.
I have pulled a
That's
copy.
not crazy.
I have both of theirs, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at that.
Okay.
Make it much easier for me. Oh, it's almost a novel.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't like you, Mr. Plunkett. The fact that you are not a nice person, the fact that you have absolutely no moral fiber, the fact that evidently it runs in the family because you got a brother who suffers from the same affliction. Total losers.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Serena Cole says her ex-boyfriend Kunta Kinte Plunkett and his brother Arthur conned her out of thousands. Serena says the brothers were using her to run a bad check scam.
What were the arrests for false information, Arthur?
Giving the wrong name or something.
Or something.
I don't deny nothing, you know. I know I'm not an angel. I don't deny,
Sure aren't an angel, sir.
you know, I don't deny me having a history or whatever. I don't know the plaintiff.
Why, if you don't really know her, sir, why would you let her purchase things for you?
Well, things that I received from the plaintiff, I was under intention that it came from my brother
That's
as a
right.
housewarming gift. I had just purchased a house.
That is
I didn't ask
What
her-
did you purchase for Arthur?
It's right here, ma'am.
Let me see what you purchased for Arthur.
It's both of theirs.
I want to see what you purchased for Arthur.
For me, she purchased a table and a mattress set from the Salvation Army.
You just said to me 2 moments ago she didn't purchase anything from me. Anything that I got from my brother.
Yeah.
Now you say to me she purchased mattresses and a table for you. Were you with her when she purchased it?
Yeah, we were together.
Yes.
My mother was with me also, and
I didn't ask whether your mother was there. I said, were you there with her when she purchased it?
Yes.
So then you knew it didn't come from your brother.
no, I was under the intention that it did come from my brother.
I don't know what you mean you were under the intention. I have no idea what that means. Does that mean you were under the impression?
I was under the impression.
That's
Right.
better.
Exactly. When I just purchased the house, I didn't have a bed, and me and my brother had discussed I was needing a bed. He said, "Well, okay, I know where you can get a cheap bed. It may be used, but it's something for you to sleep on."
Yeah.
And so I'm the only one that had a truck, and she needed a ride. He was there with me also, and so he picked out the bed. It was just a used Salvation Army bed.
Who paid for it?
Serena.
Look,
Yeah. Serena,
why would she do that for you?
because she was my brother's woman, ex-woman.
So before you were mistaken, Arthur, when you said that anything that you got came from your brother, you actually were with her when she bought you a bed and a table.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah, we were all together.
No, we were not.
Can't you just say yes?
Yes.
So you were together and she purchased it. Now you're telling me she purchased it for you because she's your brother's woman.
Yes.
So you know that she's your brother's woman.
Yes.
You know her well?
Yeah, I seen her at my brother's house. And
Have you ever been to her house?
yeah, I've been to her house.
So you know a little bit about her.
Fairly.
What does she do for a living?
She was a student, and
She was a student.
yeah, and
Right. She was a student.
yeah, and some odd jobs or telemarketing, whatever she done.
And she lived at home, is that right?
Yes.
You're in construction. Where do you think she got the money to buy you a mattress?
According from what I heard, they were going to buy a truck, and it was his money included with hers. And
For what you heard from whom?
from my brother. I just heard them talking about it. So I'm under this assumption that their money were together.
So why wouldn't your brother write a check out of his checking account?
Probably because the truck didn't go through. I guess he was getting his money out of it.
You think that your brother, who's got an arrest record as long as Bird's arm, is going to take the money that he earns as being a machinist and give it to this 19-year-old to put in her bank account so that she could write checks? Is that what you think?
Yes.
He's going to take his money and give it to her? Because he's just a good guy.
I thought they were purchasing a vehicle together.
So you think that your brother took the money that he was earning and gave it to her and said, honey, I want you to put this money in your checking account that's only in your name. Look at him. He can't even, he said, me, I'm not that stupid. Huh? He said, but you think he's that stupid.
Well,
what I want to know is, you think your brother is that stupid? Because he doesn't think he's that stupid.
Right. I don't go to the store and say, hey, let me see your checks, or let me see whose name is on it.
That's not what I'm asking you, sir.
Yeah.
You're not following what I'm asking you, Arthur.
Yeah, I never knew whose name was on it.
I'm asking you whether you think your brother is that stupid that he would take his money and give it to her and say, you put it in the bank in an account in your name.
No, I don't think he would give you something for just her name.
That's what I want. So he wouldn't be that stupid.
Right, he wouldn't.
Okay.
Right.
So if he's not that stupid, then he would have a joint checking account with her, right?
Something joint.
So that when you went to the mattress place, he would have written a check.
Possible.
But he didn't.
Not that store.
Not that store. Where did he write a check
But
for you?
see, the salvation-
Arthur, in what store did your brother write the check?
He has a checking card, a check card.
Debit card.
Debit cards.
In what store did he use his debit card for you?
For himself, I've seen him use it on gas. I've seen him use it on.
She talking about this.
Well, this incident, he doesn't have a habit of just going out buying things for me. It's just that
Arthur,
that case.
Arthur, your primary language is English, is it not?
Yes.
I am going to ask you the question again, because sometimes it takes you a couple of minutes to get it. On the day when you went shopping with the plaintiff and your brother to get stuff for your house, in what store did your brother use his debit card for you?
For me, none.
That's an answer, Arthur. You see how easy that is? Yeah. Now, you would like me to believe, sir, that these were gifts that she purchased for you because you found out, according to you, that she had cheated on you. God forbid, because you've never cheated on her, right? And she wanted to make that up to you by going out and spending thousands of dollars in this scheme that she concocted all by herself, because she's that smart, right?
Evidently.
Where's all this stuff?
The stuff she purchased after finding this out, the total of mine came to about $200. I don't know where $1,500.
Shh. Okay, so it came to $200. So what'd you do?
I still got the bed and the table.
Did you give her back the money?
No, I didn't. It was a gift. I wasn't supposed to.
Well, then you found out that she had this elaborate scheme. Let's say it was her scheme. And she went to the bank immediately and she said, listen, I don't want to get into any more trouble.
Yeah.
So why didn't you just give back the stuff?
Well, I talked to her lawyer, and first it was like $1,200. Then it's just been going up, So from there, I seen myself getting deeper and deeper, and I called my lawyers. And they told me, if she doesn't have contract, if she doesn't have it on paper, deal with that.
And what'd you do with all the stuff she got for you?
Well, I got it. She brought me this shirt. She brought me these shoes. I mean, she brought my kids some stuff. I mean, she gave it to me as a gift. I mean, what I'm supposed to do with it? I ain't giving it back.
When was the last time you were arrested?
Probably about 98. Maybe longer than that.
No, you're right, 98. You're more recent than that.
Yes. Never been involved with no check cashing, schemes.
No, crack, cocaine, robbery, firearms, knuckles, brass knuckles, possession by a convicted felon, filing false information, controlled substance.
All before the age I was 18?
No. You were arrested in 2002 on the charge of assault.
Yeah.
And how old? You told me you were 28, is that right?
Yes. That's domestic violence.
I mean, that doesn't count.
Yeah, of course.
Miss Coles?
Yes.
I've had a rather enjoyable time with these two. I will tell you that. They are two total losers.
I know that. I understand that. Man.
Total losers.
Yes.
Will always be.
Yes.
And there isn't much of a question in my mind that I believe that this whole scheme was probably Sir Lancelot's idea.
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
Miss Coles, they're not going to pay a penny. You did it.
But they have the merchandise, Your Honor. I just want them to pay for the merchandise that they have. I learned my lesson.
Good.
I'm paying for.
Good. I'm glad you learned your lesson.
And I just want them to pay for what they have, Your Honor. I don't want them.
But for you, they wouldn't have anything, madam.
Thank you.
But I have a letter from my lawyer stating that they said they would reimburse me, Your Honor.
Let me take a look at the letter. Let me see what the letter says.
My signature on that letter?
What?
Is my signature going to be on that letter? I don't think it is.
Close your mouth. I don't like you, Mr. Plunkett. The fact that I'm teaching her a lesson, you're a loser. Your brother's a loser.
Thank you.
That doesn't necessarily mean she has to be a loser forever. She's 19 years old. But for the fact that she embarked on a scheme to defraud the bank by herself, she wouldn't be in this pickle. She didn't have to listen to you. Somebody says to you, jump off the Brooklyn Bridge, and let's see how it feels. They do it, then they're stupid. You're not responsible, she's responsible. The fact that you are not a nice person, the fact that you have absolutely no moral fiber, the fact that evidently it runs in the family because you got a brother who suffers from the same affliction, that's not something the law can deal with. Where's the letter?
I left it in my case.
Well, I'm
sorry.
It really doesn't make any difference.
Oh my goodness.
It's a very tough lesson, Miss Coles. By the way, when you came home, you told somebody about what you had done?
Yes.
Who did you tell?
My sister.
And your sister said, you're going to go to jail. You better take care of this. Is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, right.
And I did take care of it. I was working 4 jobs to get out of this. And I just want them to pay for some of it. I mean,
that would be the right moral thing for them to do, to pay for some of it. That would be the right moral thing for them to do. They are amoral people.
I just want them to
They are without morals, Miss Cole. And you should have known that because you're not a stupid girl. Somebody tells you to fake your signature so that the bank is going to pay out money, and then you're not going to have to pay because you're going to fill out an affidavit that says that's not my signature when in fact it was your signature. My 10-year-old grandson would know that that's fraud. What do you want from the courts? You cannot come into a civil court and say, I want what's right to happen, because in order to do that, you have to come in with what they call in the law clean hands. You have to come in and say, I did nothing wrong. They did something wrong. I have clean hands. They have dirty hands. Somebody who doesn't come into court with clean hands cannot ask the court for help. Do you understand that? If you don't understand, I just explained it to you. Goodbye.
Parties. Now, this is case number 407 on the calendar in the matter of Ackerman versus Hodges. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Hodges, you are the owner of this bar and grill.
It's a corporation. I'm the president, majority shareholder, yes.
What's the name of the club?
Belly Up Tavern.
How long have you been president?
28 years.
In the 28 years that you've owned the club, how many times have you been sued by patrons for having them illegally bounced from your club?
I'm going to guess 5.
Now, Ms. Ackerman, it is your complaint that one or more of the defendant's employees that were employed as security in defendant's club forcibly ejected you from the club. Not only were you bruised physically during that time, but you were also emotionally bruised, embarrassed. The defendant's position is that you were drunk and disorderly and had to be forcibly removed from the club. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
Okay. This is the boyfriend who was with you that night?
Yes.
You are Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Fine. Okay. Miss Ackerman, tell me what you were doing at the club that night.
It was supposed to be a really good band. We were actually down the way at a grand opening for a tile and bath store.
So you hadn't started out there?
Had not started out, had not had plans or intentions of going there in the first place.
How far was that from the defendant's pub?
Probably about 5 doors north, same sidewalk.
And what time did you arrive at the grand opening?
Around 8:30.
There was alcohol served there?
They were serving alcohol, yes.
Okay. And did you drink there?
I started to have a glass of wine poured for me, but they ran out of white wine, so I had maybe half a glass.
And was Mr. Parisi there with you at 8 o'clock?
Yes, he was.
Were you a guest of whom at this tile and bath place?
A woman named Susie Banks. She was working to open this new store.
When did you leave?
Around 9.
Okay, what happened at 9 o'clock?
Susie Banks gave us tickets.
Look at me.
Gave us tickets for the Belly Up. She said it was a really good band. I don't even recall the name of the band at this time. And she handed us the tickets and talked us into going over to the Belly Up.
And you got there about 9 o'clock?
Shortly after, we did stop at the Wild Note Cafe, which is right next door to the Belly Up, with another couple, and we shared dinner and shared one bottle of wine there.
What time did you leave dinner?
I know it was before 10 o'clock.
And you went to Belly Up Tavern?
We went into the Belly
And
Up.
you gave them your passes? And when you first arrived, did you have anything to drink?
No, I didn't. It was actually so crowded I couldn't even find my way to the bar, let alone order a drink.
Why don't you pick it up from there and tell me what happened with the defendant's employees?
I had gone into the bathroom.
What time?
I wasn't carrying a watch, so I really can't say. I'm sure that all this was over and done with by 11 o'clock. But when we came out, it was just way too overwhelmingly crowded for me. I wasn't enjoying myself, so I approached Lorenzo, told him that I was going to be leaving, and I didn't mind if he stayed. And I was headed towards the exit when 2 to 3 men approached me from behind. I didn't even see them coming.
And what happened?
And they started to put their arms on me without saying any words. That's my whole argument. I feel that they used excessive force instead of verbal communication. If they would have just spoken with me.
Tell me what they did exactly.
They started to put their arms on me.
What do you mean started to put their arms on you?
Well, they approached me from behind, so I couldn't really see. My peripheral was, pretty restricted.
Right.
And they didn't say anything. I asked who they were, what they wanted. I didn't hear any response. And as soon as they started to touch me, I started to shrug them off, shake them off, because I didn't want them touching me or on me. And they wrestled me to the ground and picked me up by my ankles and my wrists and carried me out the front door. And during the struggle, unfortunately my tube top had slid down around my waist, so as they were carrying me out by my ankles and my wrists, I couldn't even pull up my shirt. My whole upper body was exposed.
And what happened?
They dropped me off out front, and police came, and a friend drove me home.
Is there a police report?
I heard that there was a police report.
You don't have
I don't have it.
Fine. And
I
somebody
have a
drove you-
sheriff's report from when I made a report about not even 2 days later.
So you were not physically injured?
Minor scrapes and bruises all over my body, my back, my shoulders, my arms,
Do you have
my
any
wrists.
photographs for me?
No, it claims right here in the sheriff's report that he does note all of them, and he admits that when he tried to photograph it, the lighting was wrong. He shot directly.
I'd like
into
to see that.
someone. I highlighted that section with the actual injuries.
At first you told the detective that you did not wish to prosecute the case, is that right?
Yes.
What changed your mind? Did you see a lawyer?
I believe.
The answer is either yes or no. Did you see a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I spoke
How
with
many-
one on the
shh, fine. How many days later did you speak to a lawyer?
The next day.
Did you go to the hospital or an emergency room that day or the next day?
No, I did not.
Was it at the suggestion of the lawyer that you called and make this sheriff's report?
I do not recall.
Sure you do. The only intervening act between the time this incident happened and the time 2 days later, not related to this incident, was your call to a lawyer, is that right?
I did call a lawyer the next
Okay,
morning.
Fine. You also told the detective that you were going to see a doctor that day, is that right?
Yes.
Did you go and see the doctor?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what doctor did you go and see? Was it a doctor, your personal physician?
It was through the Sharp Reese Steely Urgent Care, and I did not have a chance to pick up the records before I left. I do have my chiropractor's report.
You went to a chiropractor?
Yes, she
Had you ever-
referred.
Shh. I'm asking questions. Had you ever seen a chiropractor before?
Yes, I have back problems to begin with.
So you went to see the same chiropractor that you had seen before?
Actually, no, I had never seen James before.
So you went to a different chiropractor?
Yes.
Is the chiropractor that you went to a chiropractor that was recommended by your attorney?
Yes, he was.
It's almost like I have a crystal ball.
Sounds like you've been there before.
Yeah, I have been. Now, Mr. Hodges, were you there that evening?
No, I was not.
Are these your two employees?
One employee and one independent witness.
Who was the employee?
Mr. Samatua, right behind me.
And who was the independent witness?
Joe Taylor, and he's sitting next to Mr. Samatua.
Mr. Taylor, you want to step up here, sir?
Sure.
Were you a patron in the club that night?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you witness this event?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How much did you had to drink?
I don't drink.
You don't drink at all?
Nope.
So what were you doing at this club?
Listening to the band.
Other than being a patron and visiting the club, do you know the defendant?
No, I do not.
Now tell me what you saw.
I was standing at the end of the bar, and I was just up stretching my legs because we were sitting close to the stage. And I just kind of heard a ruckus, and she had come out of the ladies' room. And
Did you see that?
I didn't see her come out of the ladies' room, but I heard one of the bouncers, and I believe it was this gentleman, say to her, "You can't go around shoving people." And then she basically turned to him and told him to go himself.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I did serve her wine myself, and when we did run out of wine, she actually showed me behind my desk where she had a stash of wine.
That's not true.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aaron Ackerman says nightclub owner David Hodges owes for an assault committed by bouncers at his club. David says Aaron was drunk and belligerent.
Go ahead.
And he got up and he put his hand on her arm and said, "You have to leave the premises." At that time is when she pulled away and he went to grab her again and she started to swing.
What do you mean she started to swing?
Well, she didn't want, she'll leave me alone. And then at that time another bouncer came. And one of her shoes came off because she was kicking so hard and flew back over.
What do you mean she was kicking so hard?
She was trying to get away from him, I guess.
You mean she was standing up and kicking?
Yeah, at that time.
Go ahead.
Then a third bouncer saw what was happening. He came over and she was fighting so hard she slipped and she went down onto the ground onto her back. And she was kicking and trying to punch, scratching, and that's when she was exposed on her top.
Did you see her being removed from the premises?
I saw them finally pick her up and take her towards the front door, and that was the last I saw.
You were never close enough to her to determine whether or not she appeared to be intoxicated.
Not really. I couldn't, smell her breath or anything like that, no.
Well, she acknowledges that she was, well, buzzed. Is that the word you used?
I believe it was, yes.
Yes, I see that in the report that you have here. The detective, you say you weren't drunk, but you were buzzed.
It's a little lightheaded.
Does that scenario sound familiar to you?
Not quite.
Well,
I didn't actually start kicking until I was already on the ground.
how did you get to the ground?
They wrestled me down.
That's not what he said. He said that you were kicking so hard that you slipped.
That I threw myself off my feet.
That you slipped.
Fell.
That you slipped and went down.
And no one was touching me on my way down.
Well, I'm not. They were trying to grab her to escort her out the door, and in all the ruckus.
Do you recall the security guard telling you that you have to leave?
He didn't say one word.
Do you recall saying anything to him?
No. Just, what do you want? What are you doing?
You don't recall anything that this gentleman says he heard you say, cursing at him?
No.
No.
Not till I got outside. I recall being very volatile.
That's not what he said. He said that within the club.
I did not swear within the club.
You know this gentleman?
I don't. Never seen him before in my life.
Well, he saw you.
Sounds like it.
It does. And he wasn't buzzed.
Good for him.
He was also a mile away by the stage. Excuse me.
You were buzzed too.
We were in a bar, hence the word tavern.
I don't even want your bouncer to testify.
I'm sorry.
I don't even want you. Sorry for calling you a bouncer, sir. Okay? You're the security officer.
Security technicians.
What, security technician.
Security technicians.
By the way, thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. I appreciate your coming.
Thank you.
Would you step up just for a moment? I just have a couple of questions to ask you. Do you wear any particular kind of uniform?
Yeah, I wear a yellow shirt that has a staff on it, belly up staff.
Do the other security technicians also wear yellow shirts?
Yeah.
How long have you been employed by Belly Up?
2 years.
Ever been the subject of a lawsuit before?
No. No.
Okay, have a seat. You have any other witnesses for me, sir?
We have Susie Banks here.
She outside?
She's outside, yes.
Herb, would you get her? Susie Banks.
Susie Banks.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Deputy stated Ackerman was very drunk. She swore, staggered, and pushed him in the chest. That's the police officer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Erin Ackerman is claiming she was assaulted by a bouncer at David Hodges' nightclub. David has produced a surprise witness who claims Erin was drunk.
Miss Banks, it's my understanding from the plaintiff that she was your guest that evening in the opening of a tile store. Is that right?
Yes.
That's what you, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Miss Ackerman says that they ran out of wine by the time she was going to have a glass of wine. She had about a half a glass of wine. Does that sound right to you?
No.
Well, what do you know?
I did serve her wine myself.
You did?
Yes, I did.
How many times?
I don't recall the number of times, but we were all having a great time. And
What did she have? One glass of wine or more than one glass of wine?
More than one glass of wine, and we did run out of wine. And when we did run out of wine, she actually showed me behind my desk where she had a stash of wine. So she had an extra bottle in there for us for when we ran out of the wine.
You remember that?
That's not true.
Then Miss Ackerman says that you gave her 2 tickets to go to the Belly Up Tavern to hear this band. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
And what about the other couple that they were with?
They also got tickets.
Fine. You have any other witnesses that you want me to hear?
Just the person that I was with and saw everything happen also.
Come on. So, Mr. Parisi,
Yes.
you want to tell me what you saw that evening at the tavern?
At the Belly Up Tavern? Mm-hmm. From which time? From when we first got there? Or?
Yeah. You weren't there very long.
We did enter together into the club. We had been there a while. I think I had gotten to the bar and had a beer or two. It was really loud. It's really dark inside there. It's not the
You had a
light.
drink or two,
Yeah, I had a couple beers. Yeah, absolutely.
but not Miss Ackerman.
I actually wasn't with her when I was having the beer
Why not?
because I walked up to the bar to get a beer. There's 1,000 people in
I
this
ran
place.
into my girlfriend.
Speak not.
As far as his story, stretching his legs by the band, that's a good 30 feet away from where we were at the time. So I don't know how he could have heard anything or seen anything when there's 6-foot high people, thick all the way to the stage.
He wasn't near the stage, sir.
He said he stretched his legs by the stage.
No, that's not what he said. He said he was at the bar. He
Oh,
stretched
he was right
his
at the bar? Okay, excuse me.
Stretched his legs and he went over to the bar.
Okay, that's fine. Well, anyway.
So why don't you just worry about your testimony, not his?
Yeah, okay. She had come out of the bathroom, I think, and I was standing right. The bouncer sits at a certain spot when you enter the club. So she had come out of the bathroom. I had already gone by him and was standing right around the corner. She came by me, said something to me. I put my hand out or something, and
She said something to you like what, Mr. Parisi?
I don't really know exactly. Just she was leaving or she didn't want to be there anymore.
And you said you put your hand out. How did you put your hand out, sir?
To stop her for a second because she was moving kind of quickly.
So you put your hand out to stop her?
Yeah.
And what happened next?
She shrugged my hand off and said she was leaving.
So she pushed your hand
Pushed
away.
my hand away.
Okay. Go ahead.
And then, which happened really quickly, the bouncer or bouncers, I think maybe it was one at the beginning, came up behind her and grabbed her.
How did he grab her?
He grabbed her from behind. He
I
grabbed her.
want you to show me, sir, on Miss
Came
Ackerman,
up
how
from
he
behind
grabbed her.
and grabbed her like this
Okay.
and started to push her this way to leave.
Okay.
Okay? Mm-hmm. She turned around and, of course, started to kind of swing and shrug him off because she didn't know what was going on. Nobody quietly tapped her on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, you need to leave," which I don't know why she would have to leave anyway when she didn't push or shove or fight with me. Mm-hmm. Nothing was even going on.
And you didn't hear her say anything to the bouncer?
No, it was too loud. There's a band playing.
So you didn't hear?
No, I couldn't hear anything.
So she could have said what Mr. Taylor said she
could
said.
have said anything. I couldn't hear. It's too loud.
So she could have said.
I don't know how he could have heard.
Shh. It was so loud you couldn't hear anything. Is that what you just said?
Kind of hard to hear, yeah.
Right.
Certainly.
So the bouncer could have said to her, "Sorry, ma'am, you have to leave,"
While he grabbed her, sure.
while he grabbed her arm.
Sure.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Can I see the police report that you have, Mr. Hodges? Ms. Ackerman, I'm going to read you what deputy who responded to the scene that evening and actually witnessed what happened, at least outside, stated in the police report. Have you ever seen this police report?
Yes, I
Sure
have
you have.
heard. What was in it?
Yeah, you heard what from your attorney, I assume. Is that right? Your attorney who told you, I can't represent you anymore, I'm not wasting any more time on this case. Is that right?
No, that is not correct.
Well, I assume that's why you're here and he's not. Deputy stated Ackerman was very drunk. She smelled strongly of alcoholic beverages. Her movements were slow and uncoordinated, and her speech was slurred. He asked Ackerman what had happened, and while she was trying to explain, she swore, staggered, and pushed him in the chest. That's the police officer. Ackerman was trying to explain to the police officer how she was pushing her boyfriend inside the bar. Police officer asked her not to touch him while she was talking to him. Ackerman nevertheless pushed him 2 more times, and he considered arresting her for being drunk in public. Ms. Ackerman, you don't have a case. You can't hold your alcohol. You shouldn't drink your alcohol. I think that Mr. Taylor's testimony to me is quite persuasive. He's an independent witness. That's why I didn't even take the testimony of the defendant's employee, because he has a certain interest in projecting to me his side of the case. But certainly Mr. Taylor has no particular axe to grind, and according to him, and I believe him, he did not drink. So you behaved badly, and that's what happened. You behaved badly, you got thrown out. Live with it. Goodbye.
All parties in the matter of Hall versus Smith. Step forward.
Harriet Hall is suing the mother of her grandchild, 22-year-old Allie Smith, for the cost to care for her children after she failed a court-ordered drug test.
Miss Hall, you have a son.
Yes.
Your son made a baby with this lady.
Yes.
This lady had a child from another relationship.
Yes.
You get a call from this lady who's both my kids because I had a positive drug test. Is that right?
Yes.
And would you help me out and take my children because otherwise they're going to go into foster care?
Yes.
You say okay. And you took both her children, your grandchild and her other child. How old?
2.5.
How long did you have the children with you?
Till March 19th. 4 months.
For how many? 4 months.
4 months.
You want Miss Smith to pay support for that child, not your grandchild, but for the other toddler for the 4 months that you had him, boy?
Yes.
And Miss Smith says that there was never an agreement to pay you for either of the children, so she has no obligation to pay you. Is that your defense?
Yes.
You don't have to have an agreement with her.
She didn't ask for any money. She has never asked me for any money until last month when I got this thing in the mail saying that I owed her money.
You mean she never asked you for any support for
Never.
the child? What month did your 2 children go to live with Miss Hall?
December 6th of 2006.
What kind of drugs were you abusing?
Meth.
That's serious stuff.
Very serious.
Did you go into a residential drug treatment program?
No, ma'am. I went to outpatient treatment. I've been clean now for 13 months.
You working?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Great. Your 2 children with you?
Yes, ma'am.
You living on your own?
Yes, ma'am.
Who takes care of the children when you're working?
I have a daycare provider.
All that sounds right to you?
No.
You mean she's not working?
She is working.
She's taking care of her children? They live with her?
Yes.
She has her children in daycare when she's working?
Yes.
So what doesn't sound right to you?
That she wouldn't pay.
Well, I'm not talking about paying. I'm talking about the fact that 13 months later she seems to be doing very well, right?
Yes.
Why all of a sudden, after 13 months, are you suing her?
Because she's working now and she can help pay me back for the support that I did on Aiden.
Okay. That's reasonable. Did you ever ask her to help you with the support?
Yeah, she said she would the day that I got the kids.
Well, she was pretty messed up. She was using very, very heavy drug. When she got the children back, did you discuss with her finances?
No, I haven't.
So when for the first time since she got the children back, was she aware of the fact that you wanted her to pay you back for some of the expenses for the child? Did you just serve her with a summons?
Yes.
Why?
Because I felt that she owed for the kids. I took them on extra visits for her. I've done a lot
I
for
understand
her.
that, but weren't you seeing your granddaughter?
Yeah, but she wouldn't let me have her anymore. Now just my son. I have to take my son to pick her up. I can't see her.
Why?
Because she doesn't like me, I guess. I don't know.
Why?
Because she would come to my house and she would throw little fits. She would call people and tell them that I had people living with me that I didn't have living with me. The only reason she did this with the summons is because I wouldn't let her son claim our daughter on his taxes.
You mean for last year?
For 2007. I had them for 9 months out of the year, and I didn't think that
Does he pay support?
Yes, he does.
How much does he pay?
About $400 a month.
Why don't you work something out with him so that 1 year you can claim it, 1 year he can claim it?
Maybe, yeah.
Well,
we
doesn't
never
that sound
even,
reasonable?
me and him discussed it, and we were fine with it. It was when she had come over and said that Gene was upset with me, so I don't know. Me and him would discuss it.
Your mistake is that I wouldn't have served her with a summons, since clearly you care for your granddaughter. You wanted to help her out, but you also wanted your granddaughter in a safe place. So that's what you're supposed to do as a grandmother, to make sure that your grandchild is safe. The fact that you took her other child was very nice of you. Why didn't your other child go with your mother?
Because my mother couldn't take them.
Couldn't take even one of them?
No.
Okay.
And also, she was my son's grandmother before my daughter was even born. If he walked into this courtroom today, he would definitely call her grandma.
Well, she took care of him.
Right.
Okay, you do understand that whether or not you had an agreement with her, you owe her for your son's necessaries. She's not seeking any money, but only for your son. So whether or not you had an agreement with her, the law says that you have to pay her for some of the child's necessary expenses.
Okay.
And where is the father of that child?
He's not in the picture.
Okay. How much do you claim that you spent on this child?
For rent.
Forget rent.
$2,200.
Tell me what it was for.
Okay, rent was $750.
Forget rent.
And December.
Listen to me. Did you move?
Okay. Yes, I moved from my mother's to my sister's because we didn't have enough bedrooms at my mom to deal with the kids. So I moved in with my sister.
You were living with your mother?
Yes, because I was taking care of her.
Tell me the living situation in your sister's house with you and the children. Where did everybody sleep?
Okay, Aiden had a bedroom upstairs, and Addison and I had a bedroom together upstairs. And we had use of the washer, the dryer, the kitchen.
Just a second. How much did you pay in check or cash to your sister each week or month?
Each week I paid $100.
Or $400
a month.
And how many months were you with your sister?
We were there 103 days.
How many months were you with your sister? So you paid her a total of $1,600. Is that correct?
It wasn't exactly 4 months. It was a week short of 4 months. Aiden was there 15 weeks. So what she paid for him was $750. What she paid total would have been $1,500.
Okay, so $1,500. And you are ascribing half of that to her child?
Well, he had one room, she had one room.
I don't care. That's 3 people. What difference does it make?
I rented out by the room.
I don't care. That's a judgment that she made. They could have all stayed in one room. Okay, so
Not
let's say...
according to DHS.
Well, are you certified as a multiple dwelling? Are you certified? Is your home certified as a multiple dwelling? Right. So that's $500. What else?
Then in December I didn't have protective daycare until January. So I paid for daycare out of my pocket. And for December, we turned in for $380, and they paid $190 of it.
How much?
For Addison's, but they did not pay Aiden's $190.
They did not?
No.
Why?
Because he was not my grandson.
So that's $690. What else?
Okay, and then mileage for daycare.
Forget it.
Okay. And diapers and miscellaneous was $320.
Yeah.
And then we bought clothes and shoes for him and stuff. We estimated $160.
Where are the receipts for that?
I didn't bring no receipts for clothing and shoes.
So far, she owes you $990.
And then we bought toys and books and stuff for him.
Did you return them to her when you gave them back?
We gave him some of the toys and some of it, not all of it.
If you didn't give it back to his mother, then you don't get paid for it.
Yeah, but I gave her clothes and shoes and all that stuff that I bought.
Well, show me the receipts.
I didn't bring receipts.
Well, this is what you're supposed to bring.
Part of them were gifts for Christmas.
Don't shout out. I believe that the defendant owes you some money for taking care of her child. It is apparent to me that some of the money that you would like to claim that she owes you was money that was spent jointly for both children. You were going to take your granddaughter to daycare anyway, so the mileage is ridiculous to try to have her pay for. She's a woman who has put her life back in order. She's been self-supporting. She takes care of her 2 children. How much do you pay for daycare?
I don't. It's provided by the state.
Great. How much do you earn?
About $450 every 2 weeks.
Okay. Plaintiff is seeking $2,200 from you. I think that that's excessive.
Very.
I think that for rent and food stuff, your portion of that should be $990. And that includes a portion for rent, some for food, clothing, and miscellaneous stuff. Really comprises the rest, and the daycare.
With the clothing, toys, they didn't bring anything home with him. The only thing that they brought home with him, when I got them back on March 19th, I sent him with a basket of clothes, and that was exactly what they brought back. The basket of clothes with his movies in the bottom. It looked as if they never even touched it, and that was all that had come home with him.
I'm sure that they did touch care, and I'm sure if it was not clean and well kept and everything else, the daycare would have registered a complaint, which they didn't. But that's what you are. Okay. And I think that it's great that you're in a position now to help her.
Right.
And I'm sure you thank her and are grateful that you kept the kids out of foster care, both of the kids out of foster care. And it's wonderful that you put yourself back together. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $990. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Well, I don't think it was quite fair. I should have been paid for all of it.
She never asked me for any money. She never asked me for anything.
I did go out of my way and I worked long hours.
She did take care of my son and my daughter for couple months.
My family and everybody helped provide for these kids, and we took care of them.
I'm thankful to her, and so I think it was fair.
Her family should have, helped with the diapers and the care of it instead of harassing me. They should have helped.
She could have just asked me for it. Maybe we could have made out a payment plan or anything, but she didn't.
I just felt that Allie should talk to me, but she never had time because her mother was always there on Sundays.
She did it, not me. And if she's going to act that way, then maybe it's better off that she's not around them.
She said she would do anything to help if I would take Aiden to keep Addison and Aiden together.
I don't know if I want them to even be around her.
I would help her and the kids because I love them all.
Keep your kids with you.
Everybody should stay friends and talk more.
Mrs. Kennedy, this is your former husband, and it is your claim that he owes you some money for some bills that came up after your divorce papers had been filed and therefore were not resolved in the judgment of divorce.
That is correct.
That's pretty much your claim. Your husband says that these bills that you're asking for are petty, that he took care of the home and the children for 4 months after you left with absolutely no support from you, and the least you could do is pay for the electric.
That's correct.
When did the two of you separate?
We separated in August of 2005.
And I gather from what Mr. Kennedy says that you left the home.
I didn't leave the home until the sale of the home, which was in April of 2006.
In August 2005, were you living together?
Yes.
In September of 2005, were you living together?
Correct.
Mr. Kennedy, you said your wife left. When did she leave?
April 2006.
When she left in April of 2006, where were the children?
With me.
For how long?
Until July, I believe it was 19th of 2006.
And where were you?
I had moved to a different residence approximately 4 blocks away with my 2 oldest children from a previous relationship.
And you were there with the 4 children?
3.
3. How old were they?
Now they're 13, 9, and 7.
And who do they live with now?
They live with Carrie now.
Is that by agreement?
Yes.
And you pay child support?
I do.
How much?
Roughly $600 a month.
Is that correct?
That is correct. However, Your Honor, he wasn't paying child support until ordered by a judge and until his wages were garnished. For almost a year and a half, he did not pay child support.
Is that right, sir?
Correct. I wasn't working at the time.
I don't care. That's irrelevant to me. And I'm sure it was irrelevant to the court that you weren't working. Why weren't you working?
I guess I just couldn't find a job.
When you have 3 children, you find a job. You're an intelligent man. You know that. Okay, so then I'm less sympathetic with you, Mr. Kennedy. You see, I was getting sympathetic because if Mrs. Kennedy leaves and she leaves you with 3 children and she sends you no child support, I sort of feel as if $1,100 is for those circumstances. But if you didn't pay any child support for over a year because you decided not to work, that's a lot longer than 3.5 months.
Correct, but I would pick up the children throughout the week, provide for them what I could. When I had a job, I'd give her half of whatever I made.
And you mean at the times when you weren't providing them with support and she was taking care of 5 children, she was supposed to say to the kids, we're not eating lunch today because Dad's not working and whatever I do. Do you work?
I do work, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for a promotions department. I organize events through the county.
Same job for how long?
Almost a year and a half.
Okay. When you left in April of 2006, according to your complaint, he was supposed to take the electric bill out of your name.
Correct.
Is that your agreement?
That is correct.
Well, that's what she's stuck with. She's stuck with that bill. That's what she's asking you for.
Initially, it was supposed to come to me, and I had contacted the electric company, told them I'd have to make payments on that. That wasn't good enough for them, so they decided to tack it onto her bill at her new house.
So then you owe, just a second, so you owe her that money. How much does he owe you for the electric?
$699.99, and that's not exactly how it went. He stayed in the house that we once shared, rented it from the new owner, couldn't continue paying the rent on it, and left. Moved in with a friend, left no forwarding address, and to my understanding made no contact to the electric company to get the bill resolved. And that's how it got transferred to me.
Fine, $699.99. It's yours. let's go on to the income taxes, which is a far more interesting subject. Go ahead.
Income taxes. These are from the year of 2003 when Kevin was employed full-time and I was the stay-at-home mom. Apparently when he was unemployed after we separated, I don't know if the state of California had tried to make contact with him, but they couldn't find him. They found me because I was working.
Can I see the tax bill? You know about this tax bill, Mr. Kennedy?
Through my ex-wife, I do.
And?
When I moved from the house that we shared, I had all my mail forwarded.
I'm not talking about the forwarding mail. I'm talking about this tax bill. It was money that clearly you were working full-time, correct?
Correct.
She was not employed outside of the home.
When we were together, no.
Did you owe child support for other children?
No.
A record show an outstanding child support obligation that has priority over your personal income tax liability.
Your Honor, I believe that's for the current child support he's owing back.
I see. The balance due here is $342.55. Did you pay it?
It's being garnished from my wages.
Show this to him, please. Have you ever seen that document?
I haven't read it. I just heard about it from her.
And he was given that information. He said he tried to make contact with them, but was on hold for too long.
I had my mail forwarded to a P.O. box. If they wanted to find me, they could have found me.
Maybe they did find you. Maybe you took it and threw it in the garbage. How do I know? It's your responsibility. Why didn't you pay it?
Because I didn't have the $300 and some to pay her.
Well, who are you living with now?
I live with some friends.
That's not a good enough answer for me. Who do you live with now? The names of the people that you live with.
Joshua and Tina. I think their last name is something like that.
How long have you lived with them?
4 months.
Are they a couple?
Yes, you could. Yeah.
You know, why bother to get into it with you? You owe her $1,100, Mr. Kennedy. When you have 3 children, you can't afford to be unemployed unless you are mentally or physically unable to work, neither of which appears to be so in your case. So you have 3 children, you have to do whatever you can do. You get a hack license, you drive a cab, you pick up cans, you go to work for the Parks Department. You can't take the day off.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Since July of 2006, he's lived with 5 different people.
Sounds as if he's not doing too well.
He's not, Your Honor.
And later today,
They signed a lease.
They signed a lease that I was not aware of.
What difference does it make? That was your agreement with her. She's not your mother's payment. Thick.
Judge Judy. Carrie Kennedy says her ex-husband, Kevin Kennedy, owes for an electric bill, a cell phone bill, and for taxes from the state.
Okay. Now, did you get half the money from the house that was sold?
I did.
How much did you get?
I believe it was $32,000 or $36,000.
And how much did you get?
Approximately 20.
20.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. It was split right down the middle. He got half, I got half.
Why would she get more than you?
I agreed to give her more than I got because she was moving into a new place. And she complained to me that splitting it right down the middle wouldn't be fair to her.
Does that sound right?
He would not allow me to take anything out of the home that we had in the house, except for any personal items. He kept the refrigerators, the computers, TVs, everything else. I didn't get any of that until I took possession of the children in July of 2006 because he had nowhere to move and had to move in with his girlfriend. Since July of 2006, he's lived with, I'm approximating 5 different people.
Sounds as if he's not doing too well.
He's not, Your Honor, and it's just incredibly sad that my oldest daughter has had to move back home with me to help me pay the bills.
Judge for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This money has been long owed to me, and I'm just glad it's done and over with.
I just hope there's no other bills that pop up that I have to be taken to court.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Edwards. Step forward.
Real estate agent Chavez Smith is suing her former friend and client, Erica Edwards, for a loan to pay her mortgage payments.
All right, well, this is one of those little complicated cases that Bert and I are going to try to figure out together. Miss Smith, you and Miss Edwards were friends. By the way, are you a licensed realtor?
Yes, I am.
In what state?
California.
According to your complaint, Miss Edwards wanted to sell her home.
Yes.
And you had initially found a buyer, but that deal fell through.
Yes, ma'am.
So you and Miss Edwards entered into this rather convoluted arrangement.
Yes.
Whereby you would make the mortgage payments on her home.
Yes.
While you were trying to find a purchaser.
Yes.
You might also rent the house while you were looking for a purchaser.
Yes.
And Miss Edwards would be out from under the problem of the mortgage, and she could go and live elsewhere. So far, is that about right?
Yes.
Yes.
She did move out of the house And it is your claim that you made, I believe, 4 mortgage payments for her.
Yes.
She owes you that money.
Yes.
Miss Edwards says that she found out that you had in fact rented the house, didn't tell her that you had rented the house, collected money from the new tenant, did not pay the mortgage on time, thereby ruining her credit. She is counterclaiming for ruining her credit and for the money that you got from renting her house. When did you move out of your house, Miss Edwards?
I moved out May the 29th.
When was the first mortgage payment due?
May the 1st.
Is that the mortgage payment she was supposed to make?
Correct.
But you were living in the house the entire month of May.
She gave me the okay to take that money to put a deposit down on the apartment while she put tenants into the house.
Is that right?
Yes,
So you were supposed to make May's payment?
Yes.
And it's due on May the 1st?
Correct.
Did you make May's payment?
Yes, I did.
When?
June 8th.
Well, that's late.
Yes.
That's unacceptable. You understand that?
No, I didn't tell her that the payment would be made on time. I was helping her.
No, Miss
I was
Smith,
helping her out
Miss
of a
Smith,
situation.
I read that in your answer to her counterclaim. And you said, well, I told her that I was going to make the payments, but I never said I would make the payments on time. It is presumed in the law that if you agree to take over the mortgage payment, it's understood. The same way it's understood if you say, I'll take over the mortgage payments, that you don't pay them in rupees or yen. You pay them in U.S. dollars. You don't have to write it out that you're going to pay them in U.S. dollars. You say, I'm going to take over the mortgage payments, and they will be paid. And they will be paid on time. You don't have to write on time.
But, Your Honor, we didn't come to that agreement until after she had moved out May 29th.
So you're saying you didn't come to the agreement to make the mortgage payment for May 1st.
Until it was already late.
Until it was, I see that. Is that correct?
That is not correct, Your Honor. We made this agreement the beginning of May.
When the beginning of May?
Around May 1st, because there's a grace period for the mortgage up until the 15th. And Ms. Smith agreed to go ahead and use my mortgage money for that month to put a deposit down on the apartment where I was moving to.
That's not correct.
No, I believe you.
That's not
just
correct.
a second. I believe you and I don't believe her. That she did not pay May 1st's mortgage payment on time, and you did not come to an agreement with her about this until after the mortgage payment for May was late. But then you had an agreement.
Yes.
So June 1st, you should have paid June's mortgage.
No, I paid June's mortgage on June 20th because I paid May's mortgage June 8th, so I paid June's mortgage June 20th.
And July?
And July, I paid July and August late.
When did you make the payments?
I made the payment both in September.
Well, that's unacceptable, Ms. Smith. That's unacceptable. So she has a legitimate gripe if she had reasonable credit, and I don't know if she did, and she said that this destroyed her credit, that you made these mortgage payments late. She has legitimate beef. How much were the mortgage payments you made for her?
It was $1896.41 times 4.
Just a second. 18.
96 and 41 cents.
7584. Okay. Now, you put a tenant into the house.
Yes, I did.
When?
They moved in June, but their payment wasn't good until July.
Why?
Well, the house was vacant, and they were in a situation to where they didn't have anywhere to go. So I allowed them to move in June and pay me for July.
How much did they pay you?
$1,450.
How much in total did you receive from these tenants?
I received $2,900 from the tenants.
The tenants also gave her a $1,000 deposit.
Did you add that in?
Yeah. Oh, no. They gave a $1,000 deposit, which was refunded to them.
Okay. I am deducting the amount she was paid by the tenants. Do you understand?
Yes.
Show me your credit score before June and show it to me after.
I wasn't able to get the credit score after, but I do have it before June.
Well, you have to show me both. How do I know that you were damaged? That's your counterclaim, that your credit score was damaged because your mortgage was paid late. Isn't that your counterclaim?
Yes.
Well, how am I supposed to see that? Okay, so you have no counterclaim that you can prove. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if she paid your mortgage late and you could show damages as a result of paying the mortgage late, I would give you a certain amount to compensate you for that bad credit, but you can't prove that to me. Okay. Is there any reason why you don't owe her for these mortgage payments, $4,684? When did you move back into the house?
September the 15th.
She never moved back in.
September the 15th, the tenants moved out.
But she never moved in.
Who did?
Nobody. She left the house vacant until she just recently sold it a couple months ago. So
I moved back to the house.
Just a second. Hold it. Did you move back to the house?
Yes, I did.
In September?
September the 15th, when the tenants moved out.
And when did you sell the house?
September the 19th.
The house 4 days later?
Yes. I didn't move my stuff. My stuff was in storage. I was there at the house.
Don't play with me. Will you please?
I'm not.
So you're playing with me. How much did you sell the house for?
$394,000.
How much did you pay for it?
$125,000.
Why didn't you give her the mortgage payments that she laid out for you?
What mortgage payments?
The mortgage payments that she paid for you.
The tenants that were there gave her the money for her to pay the mortgage.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
Show me that.
They're her friends. They were friends of hers.
Just a second. Show me that.
They were friends
Bring
of
a
hers.
witness.
And they did not want to be involved.
Listen to me.
These are friends that she moved into the house.
Listen to me, my dear. She made mortgage payments totaling almost $8,000. According to her, she got rent for a 2-month period, which I have deducted $1,450. Were they month-to-month tenants, or did they sign a lease?
They signed a lease.
They signed a lease that I was not aware of.
What difference does it make? That was your agreement with her. She's not your mother. Why would she make your mortgage payment? Your agreement was she was going to rent the house. She was going to make the mortgage payment until such time I'm speaking. Thick. Until such time as the house could be sold, then she would recoup her money and everybody would be happy. I mean, what do you think? This is a windfall? You think you get somebody else to pay your mortgage, you make $200,000 on the house, and you don't have to pay it back? What are you, an idiot?
No, I'm not.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $46.84. That's all. Step out. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Business, friendship, and family really don't mix.
I guess the moral to all this is don't get business mixed with friendship.
At the end of the day, if somebody's trying to help you out as a friend, you would think that you would at least try to uphold your end of the bargain.
Be wiser and know what type of people you're dealing with.
I hate that it came to this.
We haven't talked since last year.
Sometimes people in your life are for a reason or a season, and I guess this was just a reason. I help her transition to wherever she needs to be, and I'll move forward.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of parent versus parent. Step forward, please.
Sonny Parent is suing his ex-wife, Stephanie Parent, for the return of a laptop computer. Stephanie says that Sonny needs to move on.
You two folks had a short-term marriage, and from what I gather, a relatively amicable divorce. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes. Did you have lawyers?
No.
Did you use the court system?
Yes.
Filed papers?
Yes.
Clerks had to read the papers?
Correct.
Judge had to read the papers? Judge's law secretary had to read the papers before you were granted the divorce? So you gobbled up your share of the justice system, right?
Yeah. Correct.
You're not going to gobble up any more time over nonsense. This is what this case is about. While you were married, there was a computer purchased.
Correct.
You say it was purchased for your business. She says it was purchased as a gift for her. I don't care. He doesn't care. You have two different versions of how she got her hands on the computer. You say she borrowed it. She says you borrowed it. I don't care. He doesn't care. How much was the computer?
$699.
When was it purchased?
In July, I do believe.
July 13th, 2006.
Yes.
So this $700 computer is now maybe worth $400. Who has the computer?
I do.
Do you want the computer or do you want to pay him $200?
I'll take the computer and pay him $200.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused.
I got $200 for a $400 computer. I'm happy.
Quick and easy.
It was tons of other things that led up to this.
My opinion is it was a gift, and a gift's a gift.
She came up with every excuse in the world.
Friendship, no relationship.
A bad 10-month marriage.
No, I'll just keep it that way. It's better off.
Once it's over, stay gone. Don't get back in it.
Rhonda Vito is suing the mother of her son's friend, Anna Betancourt, for the cost to fix a dirt bike. Rhonda claims Anna's son, 17-year-old Sean, rode her son's bike without permission and wrecked it.
Miss Vito, which of these two young men is your son?
Anthony, the first one.
How old are you, Anthony?
16.
How tall are you?
6'1".
What do you feed him?
Pasta.
Pasta? Which one of these two young men am I going to grill today?
Sean.
Ms. Betancourt, and this is your son, whose name is Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Vito, it is your complaint that Ms. Betancourt's son drove your son's dirt bike without permission, got into an accident, and damaged the bike. You believe Mrs. Betancourt should be responsible for fixing the bike. Ms. Betancourt said that her son did have permission to ride the bike, that he was injured, that you're just lucky she's not suing you for the injuries because he broke an ankle. Is that right?
Yeah.
And your son gave her son permission to ride the bike, so that's it. Shouldn't be here. Anthony.
Yes.
Anthony, when were you riding the bike when it was running? What date was the last date for this incident? You have to look down at a piece of paper?
No.
What date?
May 8th.
And where were you on May 8th?
We were at a track in Brockton, riding.
And is it a track where they just have dirt bikes?
Yes.
Who was there?
Myself, Nick.
You have to speak up. You hear I'm speaking? I'm projecting. You can hear me, right?
Myself, Nick, and Dennis.
Dennis, that would be you.
Yes, Your Honor.
But Sean wasn't there.
No.
This was after school, or there was no school on that day?
It was after school.
What time?
About like 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay. Now, you're going to tell me what happened.
Myself, Nick, and Dennis were riding. My bike wasn't working right, so we drove to my other friend's house. I tried fixing it, but it didn't work, and Sean asked to ride it.
Okay, now Sean was at your other friend's house?
Yes.
They were just hanging out?
Yes.
So far, are we correct, Sean?
Yes.
So up to this point, our stories are in sync, right? Sean asked if he could ride the bike.
Yes, and me and Nick said no, and I was putting the tools away, and he got on the bike and with no helmet and just left.
Why did you say no?
Because the bike wasn't working properly.
Is that the reason you left the track?
Yes.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
No, Your Honor.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had your own bike?
Yes.
He's petrified. All right, so he got on the bike without a helmet and took off. Go ahead.
About 5 minutes after I saw him, I tried waving him over, and he kept going.
Well, what was he going around in a circle?
Yeah, like he went around the block. I saw him, I waved him over. He didn't come over. And about 10 minutes later, he came back with a broken ankle.
By the way, state of Massachusetts, are you required to ride with a helmet?
Yes.
You're also 16, Sean?
17.
17. So you're older than he is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I start eating more pasta.
I don't like pasta.
Okay, let me hear your version. You're at your friend's house. He comes by with his bike.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
He came by with his bike. They were fixing it. Dennis rode the bike.
Talk back. Came by and they were fixing it.
Yes.
Were you outside when they were fixing it?
No, I shut up there. I got out after they were done fixing it, and I came out and...
Well, how did you know they were fixing it?
Because they told me that after.
After what?
I crashed.
After the crash?
Yeah.
Not before?
No.
So you showed up after they had been fooling around with the bike?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then Dennis was riding it, and then when he stopped riding it, I asked if I could ride it. He said no. I asked him again. He said no, and then I just hopped on the bike and rode it. Because I rode it again, so I didn't really think it was a big deal.
Did you tell that to your mother?
No.
No, ma'am.
He didn't tell that to you?
No, ma'am.
He had an epiphany here. Right?
Yeah.
Sean, you had an epiphany here, right? You know what that word means? Change of heart. He had an enlightenment. So this is the first time your mother's hearing that he said, no, you can't ride the bike. Now, do you think that if your mother knew that you didn't have permission to ride this bike, that we would be here today? You stole the bike, right? If you ask the owner of a bike, a car, something, can I use your vehicle? And they say, no, you can't. You say, oh, I'm going to use it anyway. Go get rid of your tools. While you're getting rid of your tools, I'll get on the bike and ride it. Sean, what do you have to say for yourself?
I don't know.
Miss Betancourt, you changed your mind? Your son rode the bike without permission. He actually stole it. He was told he couldn't drive it. You think he's responsible for the damage he caused?
But, Your Honor, I also have medical bills that my insurance is not covering.
Well, let me ask you this question, Miss Betancourt. Let's say your son was walking down the street on his way home, and he saw a red Corvette convertible. And he got into the car, because the keys were there, got into the car, and he took off with the car. And he crashed it, and he got hurt. You think that the owner of that car would be responsible for your medical bills?
No, but also what I didn't finish is that what they're charging me, they're also charging me for part that was fixed that had nothing to do with the accident. And Dennis is the one who took the bike to the shop. And some of the chains and the stuff was worn out during all the periods that they were riding the bikes. So it had nothing to do with the accident.
Well, how much do you believe you are responsible for of the bills that they had?
If we take that out, it would be $355.78.
How much did it cost you to fix the bike?
$631.10.
But the bike wasn't working before he got on the bike properly.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So it was going to have to go in to be fixed, because the reason you didn't want him to ride the bike is because it wasn't working properly.
Yes.
So at least part of that $631 that it cost you to fix the bike was as a result of wear and tear on the bike, or something that had absolutely no relation to the accident. So what has to do with the accident, Anthony?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, she knows. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $355.78. Good. Truth will out. Aren't you glad I didn't have to call on you?
No.
That's all. Thank you.
It's case number 232, Your Honor, on the calendar in the matter of Gropman Puff versus Longo. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
All right. Miss Longo, it is alleged by both of these plaintiffs that you destroyed their property and locked them out of an apartment that the three of you were sharing. You seem to acknowledge in your answer that you did in fact lock them out of the apartment, and you did in fact take their property and throw it in a dumpster. Is that right?
Yeah. But they didn't live there. It's my apartment. They didn't give me a dime for rent.
Doesn't
That
make
is
any
my
difference.
apartment.
They were
Okay.
living there with you, and you seem to feel as if you had some right to do that. You want to explain it to me?
Well, Stephanie went to San Francisco behind my back to my boyfriend's house and him, and thought that she could still be my friend after that. And I was angry, and I called up there, and I found out just to talk to Brad. And so I just threw her stuff in the dumpster. Because I was... And she never was my friend. I went out of my way for her. I've done so many things for her. And she goes, my boyfriend.
Are you good? How long did you live there?
I was staying there approximately 2 weeks.
And this is your boyfriend?
Yes, it is.
What property did she destroy?
She threw away most of the clothes I own and several pairs of shoes and a very expensive cellular telephone.
We have a list of...
I do, and I also have several receipts.
My God, I couldn't be so specific about what I had in my house as you are. How do you know that these were things that you had there? 6 pairs of socks? 15 pairs of panties? How do you know that?
I'm sure there were more than 6 pairs of socks. I just estimated 6 pairs of socks. There's probably things that are missing that I can't remember.
You had taken none of your property with you?
I had several things with me. A bag.
We just done 3 loads of laundry, and they were all at her house, not to mention a closet full of stuff hanging up that was inside of her home.
Where were you when all this was going on,
I was in Los Angeles with a friend, and she was in San Diego where we all live. And she was in San Francisco, I was in LA, and she had assumed that since she went to San Francisco without Suzanne, that she had done it maliciously to sleep with her boyfriend, when in all actuality she was heading to Reno and just got too tired on the trip and decided to stay in San Francisco. And they were going to stay at her witness's house, at her brother's house, and they couldn't wake him up, or that he wasn't home, so they decided to stay at this gentleman Brad's house, who she's referring to. They had stayed there 2 weeks previously, all 3 of them. And so they thought, hey, maybe we can stay there, because we were just there 2 weeks ago. Brad said no problem, and they stayed there.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
There was not a closet full of things, and they did not stay with me for 2 weeks straight. They stayed with me for 1 or 2 days at a time, and there was exactly 2 bags of clothes, and that is all.
What about a phone?
Oh,
cellular phone. She said that you...
I never saw a cellular phone. I never saw a cellular phone.
Well, you were in pretty much of a rage.
Yeah, I was.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, then you have to pay for it.
It could have been in their stuff, and I could have, thrown it away. It could have been in the bag already. there was some clothes hanging up, and there was clothes already in a bag, and I took the clothes that were hanging up and put them in another bag, and I took them and I chucked them in the dumpster because, you know.
Miss Longo.
Your Honor.
Just a second, Miss Longo. You have to pay for that. You can't do that. I mean, you called your boyfriend's house.
I know what I did legally was wrong.
Okay. You called your boyfriend's house. Nobody admitted to you that they were there sleeping together. She has her own boyfriend. I mean, you may not have liked the fact that she went there and stayed at your boyfriend's house without your permission, but you assumed that they were sleeping together. Nobody acknowledged that to you, did they?
His roommate told me.
I don't believe that.
His name's Mark.
I don't believe that. Why would anybody do that? Why would anybody stir up trouble?
I don't understand why she went there behind my back.
That's not the
I don't
issue.
understand.
That's not the issue. I mean, he gives a perfectly plausible explanation. The three of you had stayed there before. Is that right? If you want to act impulsively, Miss Longo, then you have to pay for it. Your clothes are worth how much, sir?
Mine were in there about $4.91 or so. I had some
Well, that's
shoes.
not a lot. Women's clothes are usually much more expensive.
He had like 2 shirts.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
What clothes did you have there, sir?
Liar.
What
I have
clothes?
them on the list.
No, tell me what clothes you had there.
I don't recall. It's been 2 months. I had a dress shirt. I had a pair of Airwalk tennis shoes, a pair of flip-flops, a dress shirt that I had.
We talked about the dress shirt twice. She's
No.
going to pay, but she's not going to provide you with a new wardrobe.
No, I understand.
Go ahead, keep
and
going.
I had the battery for the cellular phone that I purchased. It's a StarTAC. It's one of those little tiny flip phones.
Right, and how much was that?
The battery is $225. The phone was $600.
Phone was $600. Who spent $600? Who?
I made really good money this year, so I bought her a phone.
You bought her a $600 phone and paid $600 for it without a service contract?
I work for the company.
That's it.
I work for GT MobileNet. I made $70,000 in 3 months.
Just to say, that's not what I'm asking you, sir. There isn't a moron in this country that spends $600 for a phone without getting the phone for practically nothing, so that they can. So all you have to do is sign up for a couple of years worth of service, and then you don't spend $600 for a phone. Maybe you spend $200 for a phone.
It was a $1,000 phone, and we got it reduced. It was one of the very small StarTAC cellular phones. You're right. You can get a very large phone for free.
Not a very large.
Okay,
sir.
you can get an okay-sized phone for free. I got her an extremely small telephone.
Well, why didn't she take this extremely small telephone with her when she was traveling?
I have a car phone,
I
Your
also
Honor.
bought her a car phone that's mounted in her car. So she
Yeah.
took that one because it had roaming capabilities to go into San Francisco. The little small one didn't, so there was no need to bring it. She didn't need 2 phones.
I don't know if I believe you. I don't know if I believe that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think you need some more plastic surgery and another boob job. See, mine are real.
And later today,
So you called Child Protective Services, sir, because he was using vulgar language.
Well, he was exposing himself to the girls, too.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 21-year-old dancer Suzanne Longo admits to throwing Stephanie Poff's clothing into a dumpster. Suzanne says she felt betrayed by her former friend when she thought Stephanie was sleeping with her boyfriend.
I don't know if I believe this phone business. Clothes, I believe. Phone, I don't believe.
Your Honor, can I?
Yeah, sure.
My witness, Ashley, she came to the apartment the night we left so I could pick up a few of my things. She was there.
Step
you can
up.
ask her.
This one?
Yes.
This is Ashley.
Yes.
What do you know about the phone? Right, that you remember specifically that night. Look at me.
She had the phone there. She put it in the bag with all the rest of her clothes. There's 3 bags of clothes in the living room.
Where did she take the phone from?
From the bedroom. I guess she had other stuff in the bedroom. I don't know.
Just a minute. She took the phone from the bedroom and she put it in one of the bags that were in the living room?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
What was the phone doing in the bedroom?
I had my own closet in her room.
Yeah.
And we have the phone plugged in to charge it.
Yeah.
And I thought about taking the phone, and I thought, I don't think it'll work in there, so I put it in a bag of clothes to leave it. I took the things I had and we left.
Ah, baloney. Baloney.
The phone has been shut off. The phone number's been shut off effective July 30th when this happened.
That's fine. Forget the phone. Forget the phone. It doesn't make sense to me that you take a phone out of a bedroom and unplug it where it's being charged and put it in a bag that's sitting in the living room and you're going away. Seems to me if you're going away for a couple of days and if your phone is in your bedroom, you leave it in the bedroom. when it happens to be the most expensive thing. Listen, there isn't a question in my mind that she destroyed your property. This is not a windfall.
Can I say one thing?
What?
She had exactly this much space in my closet. And this is how big it was, and this is where the 3 bags sat of clothes. That is all. She didn't have the whole closet. I had my stuff in the rest of the closet.
She said the stuff was in the living room. She's a liar. She said the stuff was in the living room.
Your Honor, I had clothes in the living room, and I had my own closet. She has 2 closets in her bedroom. One closet was mine,
stories here?
And one closet was hers. And we had just done laundry, so I had 3 bags of laundry in the living room.
Okay. Aside from your 2 dress shirts, sorry, the 1 dress shirt, and then you said you had another dress shirt. You had 2 or 1 dress shirt?
I believe there's 1 dress shirt there.
Okay, so it's a 1 dress shirt, a pair of flip-flops, and sneakers. What else did you have?
I don't recall. When I made up the list 2 months ago when we were trying to do this in August, so I don't. That's
Well,
all
that
that's
doesn't
in my
sound like a
memory.
lot of clothes from somebody who was living there full-time, sir.
I wasn't living there full time, ma'am. She was, and I had just spent the night there a couple of times when she was there.
He had a pair of his jeans that I had bought
Yeah,
him there, too.
that's
They're
right.
expensive jeans from Nordstrom's.
Lucky's brand.
Can I be reimbursed for rent since they were living there?
No.
Even though I don't remember her living there?
Just a second. Did you have an agreement with them to pay rent?
No, I let her
Then-
stay there for 1 day
Then
at
you
a
don't.
time.
Then you had no contract with her to pay rent.
She stayed there for exactly 5 days.
Listen to me. You have to have an arrangement to pay rent, an agreement. And if she doesn't pay, then you have a lawsuit. Do you understand?
Okay.
Good. All right. Sir, you look like a very natty dresser, which means you're a very good dresser. So I'm going to say that you had 1 good shirt, 1 good pair of flip-flops, and a nice pair of jeans. You're going to get $200. Madam,
Yes.
I looked over your whole list.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
She had taken all of her clothes that were in the closet, everything she owned, and to put them in the car. Filled up her trunk and her back seat with her clothes. She had been tired of her clothes being in her car and living out of her car. So approximately 2 or 3 days before this had happened, she said, "You know what? I'm tired of everything being wrinkled." Suzanne said, "No problem. Hang everything up." So she brought everything up, hung everything up. I took home the dirty
Sir,
laundry and brought it
I'm
back.
telling you, please give me a break. This case, $200 for, what is your name, Mr. Puff?
Grotman.
You're Grotman. You're Puff?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You're going to get $2,000 to replace your wardrobe, madam, and you're getting $200 to replace your shirt and your dungarees and your flip-flops. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll back over to your right.
Quite frankly, I think she needs help.
Your face still has craters in it. Why don't you get some plastic surgery? How about a nose job?
And now the next case.
Parties on Beckman versus Hunter. Step forward, please.
42-year-old service technician Gary Beckham is suing his neighbors Chris and Jamie Hunter, claiming their 3-year-old daughter Tiffany scratched his truck with a knife. The Hunters are countersuing Mr. Beckham for harassment.
That is the villain.
That is the villain, yes.
Accuse him. However, according to your complaint, Mr. Beckman, this little girl over here is 3 years old.
Correct.
Your daughter
Yes.
took a knife or a sharp instrument and damaged your car.
Correct.
You don't deny that you did that.
No, I do not.
However, for some reason, you don't feel as if you're responsible for it.
It's not that I don't feel responsible for it. The initial lawsuit that he filed was for $1,650 and for 5 days of a rent-a-car, which I felt was a little out of line.
Okay. So it's not so much the issue of whether you are responsible, it's the amount he's suing for.
This is correct, Your Honor.
All right, so let's deal with that first. Sir, do you have the receipts for having the car fixed?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see them, please. Sir, explain this to me, all right?
Okay. I originally sued for $1,650. That was the higher complaint, or the higher estimate that I got to fix my car. Everybody was telling me that it could not be buffed out. I do have pictures of the damage.
But it was.
When it was all said and done, I had a limit, Your Honor, and I had to turn it in. I was 2 days away from turning it in when the damage got done. Okay? They gave me a 30-day extension to get the thing fixed. I took it down to Crown Dodge. I says, fix it. Buff it out, paint it, whatever you need to do.
Okay.
I need to get rid of my car. They came back and said it was buffed out, fine. The dealership bought the car back. And so now I amended my complaint to $75, which was the cost of the buff out.
Oh, that's easy. See that? Out of pocket $75.
Correct.
Very good. So we've taken care of his claim against you for $75 from $1,650. So far, you're ahead of the game. Now, you have a counterclaim against him for $2,000. You want to explain this to me?
Well, Your Honor, just shortly after this incident happened on the 13th, a lady shows up at my door. She's from Child Protective Services. Somebody has called and filed this report here, anonymously, about my care and conduct of my 2 children. Now, when this incident happened with Mr. Beckham's truck, I was at work. They're generally really good kids, but this woman saw that. She knew that we took good care of our children. She closed this case, finding it unfounded, but noted that the day that the claim was filed, on the 15th for this incident, is the same day that that anonymous phone call to PSSA was made. There have been countless number of vulgar, rude, insulting...
Well, let me start with this. Did you call in this report to Child Protective Services, sir?
Me and about 5 other people have called Child Protective Services.
You called?
Yes, I have called.
Did you call on the date that this happened with your car?
No, I did not.
When did you call, sir?
It had to be 2 weeks later.
What made you call Child Protective Services 2 weeks later?
Just the vulgar language that I heard come out of their older son. He was talking to some girls, vulgar language. Something needed to be said.
When you're talking about their older son, you're talking about this little boy here?
Yes, Tyler.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The way he was talking to them, the vulgar language he was using, okay, that was conduct unbecoming of a 6-year-old.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 42-year-old service technician Gary Beckham says Chris and Jamie Hunter's 3-year-old daughter Tiffany scratched his truck with a knife. The Hunters claim Mr. Beckham continually harasses them.
So you called Child Protective Services, sir, because he was using vulgar language?
Among other things, yes.
Well, give me the other things.
Well, he was exposing himself to the girls, too. And that is not conduct of a 6-year-old boy.
Tell me what you mean by he was exposing himself, what you saw, sir.
I saw him take himself and show it to these 2 little girls. I even talked to the fathers of the 2 little girls. And the way he was talking to them, the vulgar language he was using, okay, that was conduct unbecoming of a 6-year-old. So I had to let somebody, in my good conscience, I have 2 boys, I have to let somebody know. So I called PSSA.
Well, what about the fathers of the 2 little girls?
I have no idea what they did. None whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that they were upset. They live right next door to these guys.
How many calls had been called into Child Protective Services?
This is the only one there you have any note that I know anything about, Your Honor. And Mr. Beckham nor 2 other girls, his father, have never come and spoke to me or my husband. And this is the first we've ever heard of this.
So what happened after this?
The case
was closed.
The case was closed and unfounded. It's just a constant and endless battle that we're bad to our children. We're not taking care of them. It's been one thing after another, all resolving back to a 3-year-old scratching this truck. And I just didn't feel it was right.
Well, the fact that it may not have been right does not make it the subject of a lawsuit. Mr. Beckham.
Yes.
Let me tell you what I have a problem with, sir.
Okay.
You know I take child abuse, child neglect very seriously. The fact that you allegedly saw this little boy do what you have described is not child abuse, and it's not necessarily neglect.
Okay.
It is the kind of thing that a normal person would, if there was a normal relationship between neighbors, result in you ringing their doorbell and saying, "This is what I saw your little boy doing. You might want to have a talk with him." And you know, if you have children, sir,
yes,
you know that kids do that sort of thing. That doesn't necessarily mean that the child is being abused or neglected by his parents. So when you use Child Protective Services for other kind of relief, that takes away caseworkers from doing their legitimate work. That means the time they spent going out on this nonsense, they can't be investigating legitimate cases. That's wrong.
Well, you know, Your Honor, when you see somebody exposing himself to 2 other little girls...
You're talking about a 6-year-old, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We're talking about a 6-year-old.
I let the only appropriate people that I knew, other than management of the trailer park, which...
No, you let the right people know about it. You let the fathers of the 2 little girls
Correct.
know what you had seen.
Correct.
So that they could take appropriate steps, which means that they could have come to speak to these people.
Mm-hmm.
They could have said to their 2 little girls, I don't want you to play with that little boy anymore. They could have taken specific precautions. What you did was wrong.
Okay.
Pay for your own car. This lawsuit and the counterclaimant dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go, out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The social worker that came out obviously saw what it was worth. Absolutely nothing.
Assaulted you at a fast food restaurant where you are a manager and she was an employee.
Correct.
When did this happen?
On December the 26th, approximately 8 p.m. in Cincinnati, Ohio, on Vine Street.
How long had you been working at this restaurant?
I was a substitute manager, but I had worked there maybe 3 or 4 times. My main home as a manager was in Tri-County.
And how long have you been working for this establishment?
2 years. 3 years, approximately.
And what kind of work did you do there?
I was just on a register.
You mean you were a cashier?
Uh-huh.
How long had you been working there?
I had worked there for about 3 months, and then I was like on a leave. I didn't work for about a month, and then I had just came back. It was like my 3rd day back.
3rd day?
Mm-hmm.
Had you met her before?
No.
So, Ms. Keeman, would you tell me what happened on this day in December?
On December the 26th, I was a substitute manager at Hardee's Restaurant, and we always have a main duty of like working on the cash register and secondary duties, sweep the floor, get iced tea ready, and such priorities. I had given her task to do, and she was on the phone. Beth Tolbert.
You're her mother?
Yes, I'm her mother. And I gave Beth Tolbert her duties, and she was on the phone. I came back a little bit later after cleaning the restrooms and doing some of her chores, and she was still on the phone. And I repeated that she must get off the phone. I thought maybe I'll give her a break because I'm a benevolent manager. And I gave her another chance to please do her duties and get off the phone. She stated she wanted to call her mother, but I don't know who she called. And there was a lot of profanity and a great deal of yelling on front line. As a manager...
Okay, so let me stop you right there. Yelling and profanity by whom?
Beth Tolbert.
And who was she yelling at?
Somebody on the telephone telling them what a mean vulgarity word I was, making her do something other than just ring on the cash register.
And where is the phone situated as opposed to where the patrons are?
The phone is situated by drive-through, and she was on front line. She had to go over and use the phone behind an wall, like, to use the phone.
But she was supposed to be on the cash register.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So she couldn't be on the cash register if she was on the phone?
That's correct.
Well, after there was a lot of profanity, did she finally hang up the phone?
I asked her to please clock out. I gave her a choice.
Clock out meaning?
Meaning that she should leave the restaurant, and that's all. She would be paid for the day that she could go home. She had a choice, either get off the phone or clock out. So I finally asked her to clock out. I said, if you don't leave, I will have to call the police, because at that point it's criminal trespassing. And we are taught in our managerial duties that you exercise this to the employees, that they do have other duties, and that when they're off the clock they could use the phone, but not when they're supposed to be doing their work assignments. That's my managerial right. And I asked her, I said, would you please clock out? And she went to the cash register to clock out. She said, give me that phone, I'll call the police. And I had it up to my ear and was ready to call the police. And I faked it the first time, hoping she'd shape up and quit the profanity.
What do you mean faked it?
I called the police, but I didn't get to talk to anybody because one of the employees unplugged the receiver and I was talking to no one. And by that time she said, give me the phone, I will call the police. And I saw her heave back with the receiver of the phone, and I ducked. But unfortunately, I did not duck far enough. And I was hit with the phone up here. I didn't want to get it in the eye, and I saw it coming. And there was blood all over in my...
Right in the front of your head?
Yes, see the scar.
Could you step up, please? My eyes aren't as good as they used to be.
Likewise.
All right, there's about a scar that appears to be about 2.5 inches long. This is the mark right here that you're talking about?
Yes, and it was 3 deep, and I had a picture.
Did you see this? Did you see the scar on her forehead?
No, I haven't.
Well, would you step back, Bird? Would you accompany the plaintiff and let the defendant and her mother look at that scar?
Step over here.
Okay. You had stitches in your head?
Yes.
How many?
I had 12 to 14 on the top layer, and they told me it was 3 deep. I have no idea what the total is. I have medical
And
reports.
how long were you out of work?
I was out of work. I was told to stay off by 3 weeks. I was told after 8 days.
Don't tell me what you were told. Just tell me how long you stayed out of work. 3 weeks?
4 or 5 days.
And tell me what kind of pain, if any, you had in your head.
I have never had headaches in my life, and I have one every day since I have been hit. I am also losing my eyesight in this eye, which the doctors are watching me very closely. I have all my medical reports, Your Honor.
Now, you were arrested, is that correct?
No.
Were you taken into police custody at any time?
No, I wasn't.
Are you telling me that there was no trial in any other court? Because according to these papers, there was a trial in another court.
Yes, there was a trial, but I'm saying I didn't get arrested or anything. The police didn't take me.
How did you get to court, madam?
We got a letter in the mail.
It was a hearing. She filed a juvenile complaint. Ms. Keeman did it. And that's where we went to court for a hearing, an assault charge.
Okay, well, that's a trial. Hearing is a trial.
Yes.
It's just that you are 16, is that right?
17.
17?
She was 16 when it occurred.
All right, let's hear your version of what happened.
Okay. When I got there, Phyllis was with another manager there. And she was a really nice person when the other manager was there. And like if you get a break or something, no matter what, when people come in, you have to go back to the register. And so and I had a sandwich, and the whole time I had to keep coming back and forth. I couldn't go.
Couldn't go where?
I couldn't go to my break. I couldn't eat my sandwich because people kept coming in. So then the manager had finally left, and there was no more. It was like we were completely dead. And I went ahead and ate my sandwich. And then Phyllis, she got mad because she didn't know that I had asked the other manager right before she had left or anything. And so that that's kind of how the attitude started towards me. And the phone rang, and she answered the phone, and it was for me, and she told me I could use it. And I got on it, and
Who was on the phone?
It was just one of my friends. He asked, "What are you doing?" "Nothing, working." And then she runs back, "Get off the phone now. You can't be sitting here talking about me and all this stuff." And I hadn't said a thing about her. And, I got off the phone. And I was told to sweep behind the counter. So I said, okay. And while I was sweeping and everything, she was like over by the bathrooms just screaming at something at us. And we couldn't hear her. And, And
what do you mean you couldn't hear? If she was screaming, how could you not hear her?
We could hear her yelling, but we couldn't hear what she was saying.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's allowed to give you an attitude, madam. She's the boss, applesauce.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Restaurant manager Phyllis Keeman is suing her former employee Bethany Tolbert, claiming she split her head open. Bethany says it was an accident.
You said she was screaming at you, but how do you know she was screaming at you if she was screaming at all if you couldn't hear her?
No, I'm saying that she was yelling. She was just yelling something towards us when we didn't know what she was saying. And then she came up to the front. She finally came up, and she got directly in front of me, and she screamed it again. And so
she screamed what?
She screamed to get over and mop this effing floor now. And so I heard her, but I said, "What you say?" Because I was kind of upset because she was right in my face. And so she said, "Yo, you didn't hear that." And so she repeated it again. And I told her I was sweeping the floor, and I said, you really don't have to speak to me that way. And she said, "Oh, I'll talk to you how the F I want to talk to you," and all this stuff. And so that's when me and her started arguing. And so she told me to clock out. And the thing with that job is that on any hour, there's like a print off that goes off, and it's 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after, and you can't clock out within that 10 minutes. And it was 8 o'clock on the dot, and I couldn't clock out. And I told her, and she said, so she picked up the phone and said she was calling the police. Then She hung up the phone. She got on the phone and said she had an insubordinate employee and she wanted her arrested, and hung up the phone. That's all she said. And so, and I kept telling her, you know, I couldn't clock out. She's like, get out of here. She's screaming and everything, acting like I was gonna hurt her or something. And I'm like 12 feet away from her. So I said, well, look, I said, you need to call them back and tell them that I have 5 minutes, and I'll leave in 5 minutes, because we have always been we were told that we're not allowed to let any managers clock on our, like ring in on our registers. We're not allowed to let anybody clock us out, and no matter what the reason is. So I couldn't clock out, and I didn't know her either, and so I said, well, I'll call them. I said, I'll call them back. And so I went and I picked up the phone. The phone was on the receiver. I picked up the phone. She grabbed me and started shaking me. And that's how we were pulling each other like this. And she finally pulled the phone out of my hand. And that's how she got hit.
Show me with your mother how that happened. Let's say your mother is the plaintiff. Show me, Miss Tolbert, because that's what you said in your answer. You just showed me this motion that you were tugging over the phone. So show me how she got hit on the top of the head.
Okay, she's shorter than me. It's like the way.
Use the cup as the phone.
All right. Okay, so this would be the phone, and I'm holding it. And I'm pulling it like this, and she's holding me here.
Would you do that, please?
What do I do? I grab the phone.
Okay, she's grabbing me here and on my wrist. And we're pulling back and forth like this. And that's how she got hit, and she finally pulled it out of my hand.
That's how she got hit, on the top of her head?
Yeah, she's shorter than me.
Now, you weren't there, is that right?
That's correct, I wasn't.
Do you know anything about this case?
Yes, ma'am.
From your daughter?
From the testimonies that I've heard, all of them.
I've heard the testimony. I don't have to rely on anybody else's hearing the testimony of the witnesses. I'm relying on common sense. You do not get, if you're struggling over a telephone, a gash to the top of the head that's 3 inches long. You don't get that. I've heard this lady testify. It doesn't sound to me as if this is the kind of lady who is going to use the F word over and over again in speaking to your daughter. I want to tell you that. Just doesn't strike me that way. Now, I have just a couple of other questions for you. You took a leave, you said, from this job for a month. Why?
I was sick.
What was the matter with you?
I have migraines, and I was having some stomach problems and stuff.
How many jobs have you had?
I've been working since I was 14. So, one job I worked at for 2 years.
What happened to that job?
I quit.
Why?
Because it was old to me. I found a better one.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's a very good actor, and that's what her really job should be.
And later today,
Just a second. I know what your argument is. I'm very smart. This is not a complicated case. You know, this is not the Scopes trial.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Restaurant manager Phyllis Keenan is suing her former employee Bethany Tolbert, claiming she split her head open. Bethany says it was an accident.
You assaulted this lady. She was your boss. Let me tell you something about bosses. And your mother, who takes your side in this case, even though she wasn't there, better listen very carefully. Life is sometimes not fair. And when you raise children, you're supposed to raise children to understand that there are certain authority figures. Like you start out when you're a teacher in a school. As a teacher in a school, my mother always taught me that right or wrong, the teacher was right at that moment. When the teacher told me to do something, I did it. I may come home and complain to my mother later, but I don't tell the teacher to go take a walk. I learned that when I was 6, and I learned that when I was 20, and I taught that to my children. Is that what you learned, Bird?
That's what I learned.
And then you go through life and you have bosses. And sometimes you have good bosses, and sometimes you don't have good bosses. And sometimes they're nice people, and sometimes they're not so nice people. But while they're your bosses, you listen to them. And if you don't like it, you say, I don't like this job, I'm leaving. What happened with your daughter is you didn't teach her that right from the beginning. Probably said to her, you stand up for what you think is right to your teachers when you're 6 and to your boss when you're 16. That's not what happens. I've gone through life having a lot of bosses that I didn't like, who told me a lot of stupid things. And I knew that they were stupid when they told them to me. I did them until I got disgusted, and then I said, I'm going to find another job. That's what you do.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, I had no problem with whatever. When she was telling me to do things, I had no problem doing that. I mean, I've been working since I was 14. I can go ahead and do the work.
Are you telling me that she cursed you out using the F curse word?
She sure did.
I don't believe you. What do you think about that?
What do
I don't
think
believe
about
you.
it?
I don't believe you.
I mean-
Just like when you said in your answer, when she said to you, put down the phone or go and sweep the floor, you said to me, what did you say to me? Even though you told me just now that you heard every word that she said. You gave her an attitude.
She gave me one.
She's allowed to give you an attitude, madam. She's the boss, applesauce.
Oh, I know she's the boss, but she can't curse at me
She's
like
the
that.
boss, applesauce. So you better work really hard because she's got a 3-inch scar. She's got headaches. You had no reason to assault her. She's suing you for pain and suffering, and she's going to get the money for pain and suffering that she's suing for. Judgment in this case is $5,000 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm gonna whoop her.
Out the back door to your right, please.
And I feel sorry for the other employees that have to work under her.
She's going to hell for all this lying. That's about it.
And now the next case.
Parties on Rusk versus Nelson. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Brandon Rusk says he and 5 other seniors rented a limo for their prom. He's suing 18-year-old Krista Nelson, claiming she didn't pay her share.
Not a difficult case. You had a senior prom, a senior ball. You decided to take a limousine.
All right, on May 31st, like you said, we had our senior ball. There were 3 couples, me, my girlfriend, Krista, her date, and...
Krista?
Krista, her date.
Your date, Jeff, according to your papers.
Yes.
And her witness, Jason, and his date.
And this gentleman.
Yes.
So, did you know her date, Jeff?
No, I did not.
Who did you make your arrangement with to share the cost of this limousine?
It was me, Krista here, and Jason's date.
That's not true because it was 6 ways. You happened to be paying for Colette, and Katie happened to be paying for Jason, but Jeff.
Oh, just a minute. I'm getting too complicated. Mr. Rusk, you paid for the whole limousine.
Yes, I did.
And it came out to $175 per couple.
Yes, it did.
Correct. And my date was supposed to pay for it.
Just a second. You got your money from Jason.
Jason, yes, I did.
He gave you the $175.
Yes, he did.
Your problem is, Miss Nelson says that she's only paying for part of the limousine because she had a lousy time at the prom with Jeff. She's not talking to him anymore. And he didn't pay for his share. Is that the case?
That's the case with me, but my argument is that I never knew
Just
her
a second. I know what your argument is. I'm very smart. This is not a complicated case. You know, this is not the Scopes trial. When you made arrangements for this limousine, did you speak to him or did Jeff speak to him?
I spoke to him.
Stop! Say nothing else. Just answer my questions. You spoke to him. Did he ever meet Jeff before the prom? When?
Yes. We met at Columbia Pool for a while, and then we went over to Colette's house for a while. He knew, it was clear that Jeff was paying for our portion of the limo.
Just a second. The arrangement was that each of the 3 couples would pay, and you made that initial arrangement with him. Is that right?
Correct.
And then you had a conversation with your date, Jeff.
Right.
Right. Just a minute. Right. And your conversation with your date, Jeff, was, are you going to pay for this limousine?
Correct.
And Jeff said yes.
Right. And I told Brandon.
That had nothing to do with Brandon. You're Brandon, right? Yes. Brandon Rusk. Your original agreement with him was, when he arranged for this limousine, that your third was going to be paid.
Yes.
You then had a conversation with Jeff.
No. From the very beginning, we all sat down and made plans together that we were going to go. We contacted the limo place, everything.
Who's we?
All of us. We all got together and did it besides Jeff. Jeff was the only one who wasn't there.
Right.
But I told Brandon from the beginning that Jeff would be that I was going to get Jeff to pay for our portion of the limo.
That's your problem.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Don't you hear what you're saying, madam? Jeff wasn't there when you made the arrangements. He relied on the fact that you, as his friend, were going to be responsible for a third of it. You later spoke to Jeff, because Jeff wasn't there when you made these arrangements, according to your own statement. Look, you gotta pay for your portion. You want to sue Jeff? Sue him. He shouldn't be out the money.
And I agree.
Good. $175 for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The night of senior ball, it ended up being a bad experience, and he basically left all night long, and I wasn't with him at all.
We went through the senior ball as planned, you know, had a good time except for Krista and her date. But Krista had a good time on her own. And
Can we get a hug, Krista?
Yeah.
Your Honor, this is case number 269 on the calendar in the matter of Bettis versus Stipke. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please. Have a seat.
You had a birthday party at your house for your daughter Nicole
and Christina.
and Christina.
We also celebrated 2 other children's birthday at that time.
And according to this complaint, one of the other children who was celebrating a birthday was the daughter of a friend of yours.
Yes.
Who brought this gentleman to the party.
Yes.
So you came, sir, as an invited guest
Yes, ma'am.
of this lady?
Yes.
See how smart I am. Your claim is that while he was at the party, he was drunk?
Yes.
And he destroyed some furniture?
Yes.
Were you drunk?
No, ma'am. I had 3 or 4 beers at the most. They had other people drinking. Her sister and her husband were also drinking the beer.
Who cares about a sister and her brother? They didn't break furniture.
No, they did not.
Well, why'd you go to the birthday party and drink?
Nah, I just had a few beers.
Uh-huh. Why don't you tell me, sir, how it came about that you broke this furniture? Describe what happened to me, if you remember.
Diane had threw a piece of ice up to me.
Just a second. Diane, that's you.
Right.
Stand up there, Diane, because I found that interesting. So she threw what?
A piece of ice up in the air.
Ice.
Ice.
Where were you standing at this time?
On the patio.
On the patio.
Describe how you threw a piece of ice. How far were you standing apart?
3 feet.
Well, move over another foot.
I felt like this.
About that far? And you, what were you doing? Your hands weren't behind your back, sir. What were you doing? You're holding a beer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make like you're holding a beer, right? All right.
And a cigarette.
And you're, just, what?
And a cigarette in the other hand.
Cigarette in the other hand?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Make like a cigarette in the other hand. Now, Diane, show me what you were doing.
I just tossed a piece of ice up.
An ice cube?
Yes. It was out of the ice chest. Actually, it was out of my cup, but Mike lifted his head up, and he stepped
No, just
back.
you're going to show me. Toss the ice. Go ahead. Toss it. Go.
And when I went back, I hit the end of the table and went down and then busted my head open on a toy chest.
Just a second. I'm not interested with your head. I'm interested in the table. Right? You broke the table.
The end piece, yeah.
The end piece of the table.
Right.
Because you were acting like a fool at a children's birthday party. He had 3 or 4 beers. She's throwing ice cubes at you, and you're catching them in your mouth, right? And I say this to you, sir, because to add insult to injury, you filed a countersuit in this case. You're suing her because you fell and broke your head and split your head open. What does that have to do with her? What does that have to do with her?
That was her house, and I was on her property, and I went through pain and suffering through the deal.
So whose fault was that?
It was my fault.
So what are you suing her for?
For the pain and suffering I went through.
Why is your pain and suffering her problem? If you get listen to me, sir. If you get out of bed in the middle of the night, right, to go to the bathroom, and you stub your toe on a chair, and you break your toe, do you sue the chair manufacturer? Huh?
No.
No. Now, the table didn't have 3 or 4 beers and move. Right?
No.
So I'm really trying to understand what was in your mind when you filed this countersuit. Her lawsuit, I understand.
Okay.
Okay. That was easy.
Okay.
That was easy. Okay. Is that pretty much what happened?
In general, yes. We offered to call 911 or take him to the hospital. He refused.
You were
No,
being...
no, that is not true.
Doesn't make any difference. I want to know about the table.
Okay. Basically, the table was broke on one side, and he broke a chair.
So did you have it fixed? Were you able to repair it?
We tried to get it fixed. They were not able to fix the table and the
How
chair.
did he break a chair?
He was sitting in it, and when he leant over to get a beer off the table, he broke the chair.
He broke the... Well, that happened before the table.
Right.
You remember that?
No, there was no chair broken, no.
You don't remember a broken chair?
No.
There was not a chair broken.
How was it broken? You have a picture of it?
Yes, we do. It's basically just a little metal hinge that fits into the grooves of the side of the chair. It's a folding chair, little wooden folding chair. And
so did you fix the folding chair?
No, there's nowhere to fix the metal piece.
Did the party continue on after this happened with this fall?
Once they left, the party did end, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
He fell backwards and I came watching over there and Mommy and Mommy's friend and Diane, they tried to doctor him, but they rushed him to the hospital.
Thank you. Did you have a good time at your birthday party? You didn't. Why not? Why not? It's
okay.
You can tell me. Tell me your name. No, she's all right. She's all right. I won't ask her any more questions.
Thank you.
Evidently, she didn't have such a good time at the birthday party.
No. She does not want me to throw any more parties for her again because of what happened.
Why?
Because basically she seen him walking around drunk and fall down and shed blood all over at her birthday party.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was told they were going to pay $50 each Sunday. I did not get any money, so I took matters into my own hands.
And later today,
I certainly wouldn't make damage in broad daylight with a neighbor walking outside in the street.
The police were there, and he fled.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 35-year-old Cynthia Bettis says Mike Stipke ruined her daughter's birthday party when he got drunk and broke a table. Mike says it was all an accident and is countersuing for medical bills.
How much is the table worth?
About $200.
Okay.
I have a letter from the lady who owns the table.
You borrowed the table from somebody else?
My in-laws did. They borrowed the table for the party.
Okay, well, it has to be replaced. And you have to pay for it. Don't be foolish.
I did offer to pay for it.
So then what are we doing here?
I asked for the money to be delivered, $50 every Sunday, and they agreed upon it, and it never came through.
I offered to write her a check in the whole full amount and have Mike pay me back because I live 3 blocks from him.
So? I never got that offer.
She says, I'm going away for the weekend. I'll call you when I get back. We'll make arrangements to happen. She didn't call.
Why don't you just drop off the check?
Why should I go over there? She made it clear she didn't want me over there.
So why don't you just send the check in the mail? Say, I'm sorry this happened. Sorry
I
for
am
the
sorry it
birthday
happened,
party.
and I made that quite clear to her.
All right. Well, it's a very unfortunate circumstance. Sir, you understand that you owe $200. That's for the table. I mean, little girls who had a birthday party, one of them had a good time. The older one didn't. She probably understands a little bit more about what was going on. Certainly, you know that your countersuit has absolutely no merit. If you act like a fool, sometimes you get hurt. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $200.
Do I get the table?
Do you get the table?
Yes.
No, you get the judgment.
Okay.
Parties are excused. Step out.
Thank you. What a jerk.
Back door to your right, please.
It was an accident and it happened. I'm sorry that I broke your table.
Thank you. I'd like you to apologize to the kids that you ruined their party.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And now the next case.
Parties on Oak Crate versus Engler. Step forward, please.
ATM saleswoman Marlene Opray is suing her business associate Roger Engler, charging he vandalized her car. Roger says she's retaliating against him over a business deal gone bad.
All right, Miss Opray, you claim that the defendant vandalized your car.
Yes.
By keying it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why would he do such a thing?
As retaliatory for not working with me any longer.
Well, tell me about that.
We just had a court case in San Francisco about 2.5 weeks ago to where he tried to say I owed him for a sum of money for the month of June.
He was an employee of yours?
No, he was a self-contractor only if he were to sell ATM machines.
Okay, so he was an independent contractor.
Yes, Your Honor.
So he sued you last month.
And he lost because he didn't produce, he didn't make one sale.
Whatever. He lost.
That's right.
When was the car vandalized?
August 25th.
And when was the court case?
October 7th.
So the car was vandalized before the court case?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Did you report it vandalized?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Where was it vandalized? Tell me about it.
It was in my carport. My daughter saw him do it. And this is Linda, my daughter. Hi. And the police came immediately after he had done this, and he fled. If he hadn't done it, why would he flee from the police?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have to tell you what he said in our last court case on October 7th when I told him I had 2 witnesses 2 weeks ago. And he says, nobody saw me do it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. ATM saleswoman Marlene Opray says her former business associate Roger Engler keyed her car, causing severe damage. Roger denies he did anything wrong.
You say, your mother says at least, that you actually observed him.
Yes, I did.
Tell me what you saw.
Your Honor, he came to the house around 8:30 or 9 in the morning. I answered the door, and this gentleman was at my mom's door. He asked if Marlene Opray was there. I asked who he was. He did not want to leave a name with me. I seen he had a white envelope in his hand. I said I was her daughter. I would be more glad to give it to her, and he refused to give it to me. So I shut the door. I went in, I told my mom, she was in the shower at the time. My mom asked him to come back in 30 minutes, asked what he looked like, and this and that. I described him. She couldn't place him. So I went back and I told this gentleman. He wasn't too happy about it. He said he had come a long distance to give this to my mother. And I says, well, like I said, if you want to come back in 30 minutes. I shut my door. I went into my room. Not even 2 minutes later, I heard a screeching noise outside. It's right outside my bedroom window. There's a carport. My car was parked there as well as my mother's. I didn't have any clothes on because I answered the door. I was in my pajamas. I opened it up halfway. I went to go put my pants on to run out there to see what he was doing. He was kneeling down on the other side of my mom's car on the right rear tire. So I got my pants on. I ran out there. At that time, this gentleman was pulling away. I ran out after him. He kept going. He did see me. I saw him look in his rearview mirror. There was another gentleman walking in the park there where we live. He said this gentleman had parked there for a while there.
You can't tell me what the other gentleman said. So you actually saw him kneeling against your mother's car?
Yes, I did.
You did not actually see him scratch your mother's car?
I seen him kneeling there. I heard a noise.
You heard a noise,
Yes.
and you saw him kneeling near the car?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Had you parked the car there the evening before?
Yes, I did.
And when you parked the car there, can you describe its condition to me?
It was good. I mean,
What kind
I'd
of a
been
car is it?
driving all day. I had not been out of the car. I'd been on a long trip. And I'd parked there about 11:30 at night. And, Your Honor, we have security at the park, so nobody came in.
Do you have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Engler, I'll hear you, sir.
Okay. It's a nice story. Mostly none of it is true, but that's a nice story. Number one, we were partners. I had letters that showed that we were business partners. We had gone on a number of trips together. We were supposed to share income and so on.
I'm not interested in the other lawsuit, sir.
No, I
you
understand.
lost the other lawsuit.
I'm just giving background. She owed me money. She kept on promising she was going to pay money. And then all of a sudden she was disappearing and she wasn't returning calls. and she wasn't returning calls. We had been in for 3 months on the phone every single day, once, twice, sometimes 3 times a day, many times.
I'm not interested in that. You went to her house at 8:30 in the morning
No,
for
I did,
what purpose?
first of all, it was 9:30 in the morning.
9:30.
Okay, there was.
For what purpose?
For what purpose? I went to give her a letter in her hand saying I've dissolved the partnership between us. And that's what I went to deliver. Her daughter came to the door. She was dressed. The door was open. She said, who are you? And I said, I just came here to give your mother a piece of paper. She said, let me go back and find out. She came back and she said, my mother's in the shower. Can you come back in 30 minutes? There was a gentleman walking in the street that we exchanged pleasantries. That was the extent of it.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as I can see, is simply retaliation. It's whatever she can do. Nothing to do with me.
I see the police were called, sir, on that day, on the 25th of August. So it's clearly not retaliatory because you evidently did not proceed in court until October. Your judgment wasn't until October, the judgment dismissing your suit. She made this complaint the very day of the incident.
Okay. First of all, her car has had many damages on it that she's never repaired. I can't testify as to what scratches and things she had on the car or why she did what she did.
This is a key mark, sir.
Okay, but it could have been there.
This is a key mark.
It was not there.
Here.
Okay.
Show him.
It was not there.
Okay, it's a key mark. You know, but that doesn't mean that I had anything to do with it. It could have been there. I could tell you that she had damages on her car that she's never repaired, and she's using it as an excuse. You know, if it was vandalism, as she claims, then in fact, from what I understand, it's a criminal act. Why didn't the police come, call me, do whatever they want, arrest me? There's no logic.
Your Honor.
Let's see. Just a second. You were given information on how to get a temporary restraining order against him. Did you do that?
No, I didn't because I left on a long cruise. And like the police department said, if you're gone, I went all the way up to Alaska in Canada. There was no sense in getting a restraining order. I was going to be gone.
For how long?
I was gone for 12 days.
Mm-hmm.
The cruise was before I even went there. The reason I know that is because one of her customers I had spoken to her and called me. The cruise was before.
What kind of business are you in, sir?
I'm in the ATM business. I sell ATM, cash dispensers, credit card processing, and so on. I was never an employee of hers. I was never a contract laborer of hers. I had my own company. She approached me to be a partner with her and hers.
I just asked you, shh. Have you ever been arrested?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When?
About 2 years ago.
For what?
It was considered insurance fraud at the time. Although it was my own property. It was my own property that was stolen, and it was a nonsense thing, but that's how it was.
And you were convicted?
Yes.
Is that your first arrest, sir?
No.
When's the arrest just prior to that?
That was a case that was dropped on an advertising program that was eventually dropped.
Mm-hmm. How long was your probation on the insurance fraud?
2 years.
When is your probation up?
Oh, it was up before I came to California.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
This is not a criminal case. Criminal case, the burden of proof is proof by beyond a reasonable doubt that an act was committed. The quantum of proof in a civil case, and this is a civil case, is more evidence than not, what we call a preponderance of the credible evidence that an event occurred. So I must make a determination based upon common sense and based upon what I've heard, whether I am satisfied by a preponderance of the credible evidence, that is more evidence than not, that you did in fact key her car. I'm satisfied. So you have the estimates for the damage?
Yes, and it's already been taken care of.
$1,241.25 is what you paid to have the car repainted on both
Yes.
sides. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,241. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You know, she never contacted me. She never notified me. The police never were involved. Nothing ever happened.
I have to tell you what he said in our last court case on October 7th when I told him I had 2 witnesses. 2 weeks ago. And he says, nobody saw me do it.
Judge, this is case number 308 on the calendar in the matter of Schnabel versus Timon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Schnabel, this lawsuit really has its genesis in a problem with your daughter. Is that right?
That's correct.
From what I gather from these papers, and I try to sift through them because they were kind of difficult to follow, your daughter was in a relationship with a defendant.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Something happened, which you're going to tell me about, and you claim that he damaged your car.
That's correct.
Why don't you tell me how that came about, sir?
Your Honor, it was the evening of June 27th of this year, and I was at home. I lived about 35 miles from the residence that my daughter shared with Steve. It was about 9:30 in the evening. I received a phone call from my daughter saying, "Dad, come get me. I'm at Steve's." And she hung up.
Had she ever done that before, sir?
She had.
How many times?
Once.
How long had she been with him?
8 months, probably. That's a guesstimate.
And how old is she?
32.
Go ahead.
I called back and immediately, and Steve answered the phone, said that she had been drinking, that she was intoxicated, that he had thrown her out of the house, that she had left in her car, and I said, "I'll be right there." I arrived, asked him, "Where is she?" "I don't know, don't care," in effect. Immediately across the street from the duplex that they shared is a large primitive area, probably 80, 100 acres of Douglas fir, undergrowth, nettles, blackberries, a very steep ravine. And at that point, we're standing in the front yard, and I heard her call out, "Help me." And it came from the vicinity, or in this primitive area. I took off toward the area, and a neighbor came out because I was calling her name, and by now it's 11 o'clock, 11:15, somewhere in that vicinity. And I was not getting an answer back. I just could hear, "Help me." And they came out, loaned me a flashlight. I tried to get down, but it was just too steep. I went back to the house and engaged Steve in a discussion. We got in an argument, and
Well, tell me about that.
Well, I asked him, I said, "Why didn't you keep her here? If she was intoxicated, why didn't you keep her here?" And he says, "Well, I couldn't control her, and I threw her out. She got in her car, she went down, missed the corner, ran into a neighbor's yard, blew up a tire, took out a bunch of their cyclone fence, backed the car out, managed to get it back into the driveway, and then he threw her out again." And with that, obviously, she took off. I said, "You know, you're part of the problem." And with that, he said, "Go find your effing psycho daughter and get the F out of here." And I realized that he didn't care anything for my daughter. And I hit him in the stomach and tried to hit him in the jaw and missed, and he jumped back, and we stood there looking at one another, and finally I said, "This isn't finding her. I'm leaving." I bent down, picked up my cell phone that had fallen on the ground, walked over to my car, around on the passenger side, opened the door, and in a rage, he came running over to the side of the passenger side of the car, took the heel of his hand, smashed it into the windshield. I said, now that's going to cost you. Got into the car, turned the key, and of course the power antenna came up. Well, he's standing right there, so he grabs that, he bends that over. He grabbed the windshield wiper and he spun that around. And I backed out and left.
Does your daughter have a drinking problem?
She does.
For how long?
To my knowledge, about, probably 5-6 years, as it turns out. It's been fairly
Before
well
she
hidden.
met Steve?
Yes.
All right, well, there are a lot of questions that I have for you, but I'm going to let Mr. Timmon tell me his version of what happened that night. Go ahead, sir.
Well, his daughter has a problem drinking, and we've gone through it for a long time and tried on numerous occasions to get her help. I told her if there was another incident with the police that she was going to have to move out. And when it did happen, when she was released into Phil's custody.
You mean there had been an arrest before?
2 weeks before.
Is that right, Mr. Schnabel?
That's correct.
What happened in that incident?
Again, she was at my house drinking, and police got involved and arrested her for that. And that was the last straw.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You decided it wasn't your problem anymore. But you, just as a human being, you don't allow somebody who's intoxicated to go wandering off into the brush where she could have really been killed.
And later today,
You didn't give me the money until Friday.
Till Friday? You got the money way before then.
No, I didn't.
Now,
Yes,
you know what? I
did.
kept a journal
Yes.
of everything.
Well, kept a journal
Miss
of
Landros,
you got the money.
Talk to the judge, please.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Phil Schnabel says his daughter's ex-boyfriend, Steve Timmons, damaged his car during a fistfight. Steve claims Phil's daughter is an alcoholic and caused the incident.
Tell me what happened with his car. After he assaulted you, where did he hit you?
In the chest and in the head.
That's pretty much what he says. What happened with his car?
I told him after he did that I was going to call the police, and he needed to leave my property. So we walked to his car. He was screaming and yelling. I was screaming and yelling. I hopped in his car, started it up, started revving the engine up, and just sitting there. As I approached his car and told him that he needed to leave and that I was going to call the police, he put it in gear. I pushed up against his car. I don't know why, but didn't know if he was coming after me or my car or what the deal was. He put it in gear.
So the bottom line is, on that evening, gentlemen, you both lost your tempers.
That's correct.
Mr. Schnabel, what I found interesting in your complaint, sir, is that you physically put your hands on the defendant first,
I did.
out of anger.
I did.
And yet you're complaining that he, according to you, put his hands on your car out of anger, right?
After I indicated that I was leaving.
What difference does it make?
Okay.
I mean, you expect a certain amount of compassion as a result of your being very upset. You assaulted him because you were upset that he hadn't taken better care of your daughter, right?
That's correct.
He didn't sue you for assault.
There was some pushing prior to that, so.
No, there
incidental
wasn't pushing.
That's correct.
You know, even according to your complaint, there wasn't incidental pushing. You lost your temper. While I'm sympathetic because you clearly have a situation in your family that's tragic, but Mr. Schnabel, I'm unsympathetic, sir, with your lawsuit against the defendant. Unsympathetic for whatever damage he caused to your car, because you expect him to understand your frustration, which resulted in you really assaulting him. I mean, you told me in your papers. You punched him in the stomach, you said you hit him in the head, and yet even if he got so angry because he was assaulted that he smashed the windshield of your car, which was in movement, clearly.
No, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
It was just sitting there? You were sitting in the car?
I wasn't even in the car yet when he smashed the windshield.
You mean you assaulted him and then he went and hit your car?
That's correct. I was
Instead of hitting you, he hit your car.
It wasn't because he didn't try, Your Honor.
But you hit him first,
That's
Mr.
correct.
Schnabel.
I did.
All I can tell you, sir, is this. Anger is a much easier emotion for people to live with than sorrow or frustration. It's much easier to be angry with somebody else than it is to internalize within your own family situation. He didn't create the situation with your daughter. According to you, it's been going on for a long time, even before she met him. So it's not his fault. I mean, if it were his fault, they would have been together for years and he would have been an enabler with her. But I don't get that sense. I get the sense you've been having difficulty with her for a long time. He got frustrated finally. Mr. Timmon, what you did wasn't the right thing. You understand that, sir?
I do.
There are certain things that you can do to be protective just as a human being. I understand that you were frustrated. I understand that she had a problem. You had a short-term relationship. You decided it wasn't your problem anymore, right? And you wanted clear of it. But you, just as a human being, you don't allow somebody who's intoxicated to go wandering off into the brush where she could have really been killed. You would have felt terrible. It's a very unfortunate situation. But Mr. Schnabel, the defendant understood that. I have no countersuit here for assault. He certainly didn't press charges against you for assault, which he could have. The damage to your car was $400. That's what the punch is going to cost you, sir. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Landeros versus James. Step forward, please.
24-year-old Marlo Landeros says her former friend, 23-year-old Latasha James, owes her $240 for a cell phone bill.
Miss Landeros, you claim that the defendant owes you $240 for a cell phone bill.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how that came about.
Okay, Latasha James, she's a former friend of mine in which I met at our previous employment about 5 months ago. And sometime in August, she purchased a cellular phone which she was only able to activate by prepaying for her minutes. And then in a conversation she had one time, she said that the sales rep at the phone company had told her that if she knew somebody with the phone, that she could get it connected, so it would be cheaper for her. We took it.
She had the phone. She had bought the phone.
Yes, she purchased the phone. She gave me her phone to take to my phone company and to activate it under our account so she wouldn't have to prepay for her minutes. In other words, when the bill came in, I would tell her how much it was. It would be cheaper for her. And that's why I was doing this favor for her. And when I did it, I let her know. I said, well, I'm on a 1-year contract. I said, they're probably going to put you on a contract also. She gave me $55 just in case if they did require anything.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
The reason that you asked her to co-sign for you is that you wouldn't have to prepay.
Correct.
Of course I'm correct.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marlo Landeros is suing Latasha James because she didn't pay for a $240 cell phone bill. Latasha claims she owes much less.
Okay, so you went.
Yes.
And you activated her phone.
That's correct.
And how much did it cost you?
I was required to put down a $50 fee for activation fee.
And she had given you $55.
Yes,
so you
I
had
returned the $5 to her.
She returned the $5?
Yes, she did. Okay. When I went to return the phone to her house that night, I went in and it was a pink paper. And I said, here's your phone number. I said, I said, you know.
So she had a phone number and she had her phone?
Yes, and it was working.
Okay, correct?
Correct.
Good.
The next time I called her was when the first bill was due, and I called where we used to work. She wasn't there. It was a Friday, and I called her on a Friday because we used to get paid every Friday.
So you called her and you said, bill due?
Yes. Okay.
How much was the bill? Her bill?
$42. Okay.
Did she give you the $42?
Yes, she did. She paid me after the due date. Yes.
Okay. So far you're beginning to learn your lesson.
Yes.
When was the next bill that came in?
Okay, the next bill came in 2 weeks later because the bill arrived early. So I wanted to notify her early because that bill came to $192.27.
Did she pay you the $192.27?
No, she has not paid me the $192.27.
Where do we get to $240?
$240 is the 1-year contract that I made, and I did tell her And I cut off her phone.
You cut off the phone, but
so
there
it's for
was-
the remaining 10 months.
How much a month?
$24 a month.
Well, it's $24 a month, but what about the $192.27?
She hasn't paid me that. She has promised to pay me, but she has not paid me.
How much do you owe the phone company right now on her behalf?
$614.20.
Did you say that you were planning to pay the bills?
Okay, Your Honor, to clarify the whole bill situation, when I got the phone with her, I did give her $55. She did connect my phone for me. She brought my phone to me. She brought me my $5, okay? 2 weeks later, she calls me. I go, how much is the bill? She told me how much it was. When I got the money a couple of days later, she called.
What do you mean when you got the money?
I had to get the money together because I got the message kind of late and I had to pay child care. So I got the money from a family member. 2 weeks later, she calls me again. She goes, the phone bill came in, you owe me $192. And I'm like, okay. I go, I want to see this bill. She goes, okay, you can see the bill. So I'm thinking she's going to bring me the bill the next couple of days, drop it off to me.
Why didn't you go pick it up?
I don't know where she lives at.
Why does she have to come to you to show you your bill for your phone?
Well, I could have got it, but the time I get off work, it's really late at night time. I get off at around almost 9 o'clock at night.
So?
Well, I could have did that.
You didn't, so you owe her this $192.27.
And I don't have a discrepancy with the whole owing her the $192. The discrepancy is the $240. I never received a contract. I never seen a contract. My contract was not a year. Mine was as I prepaid it. That's how mine was.
You weren't prepaying, madam. The reason that you asked her to co-sign for you is that you wouldn't have to prepay.
Correct.
Of course I'm correct. Right now, it seems to me that you asked this lady, who was really a stranger, to do you a favor, to put your phone on her bill.
Correct.
And if you think that I'm going to allow her to be out one dime.
I'm not saying that she's allowed to be out one dime. I owe her $192.
No,
That's
she's going to be billed on her phone for a year's contract for you.
A year's contract that I did not tell her to cancel. She brought me the bill the day it was due. If she would have brought me my bill before then, not the day it was due, and then called me the next day and asked me for money, and my phone is disconnected, I'm only going to pay what I owe. And all I owe her is $192, not $240. I did not tell her to cancel the service.
Miss James, she canceled the service because she was having a lot of aggravation with you.
She didn't have any aggravation with me. She called me on the phone.
I could see that she was having a lot of aggravation because first you tell her the first bill that's a small bill, you tell her
there was never a bill. I asked her for the bills before then. I never seen any bills.
The first time she called and told you what your bill was for $42, you gave her a story that you didn't have the money right away. You just told that to me. You said you had to get it because you had some child care expenses.
Correct, but I was not told that she called.
Just a second. That is not her problem that you have child care expenses.
I never said it was her problem. That's why I made sure she got her money the very next day. That's not the discrepancy here.
No, you didn't give her the money the very next day. You didn't give her the $42 for the first bill the very next day. You know that, and I know that.
It was the next day. She didn't get it the same day when I talked to her.
You didn't give me the money until Friday.
Till Friday? You got the money way before then.
No, I didn't.
Now,
yes,
you know what?
Did.
I kept a journal of everything.
Well, kept a journal
Miss Landros,
you got the money.
Talk to the judge, please.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Landros.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe that this lady is going to pay you the $192.27. I don't believe she's going to pay you that. Because I see that she thinks that she's right. She thinks that you do her a favor, you connect total stranger's bill up to your phone. Then you got to keep calling her for the money. Then she questions why it's so high. Then she questions if there's a contract. She was so interested she could have gone with you and worked out the arrangements herself with you right there. Instead, she gave you the phone and said, go ahead and do it.
I was working.
That's not her problem. Since when is she a partner in your misery? Since when is the stranger a partner in your problems? If you were so interested in making sure everything was going to be done just the way you wanted to, you should have said, I will go with you and take off time. Lunchtime?
Our schedules are different. I'm a photographer. She's an appointment coordinator. 2 different schedules. Lunch hours different.
You always have an excuse for doing the wrong thing.
No, I'm not making an excuse.
You got an excuse for everything.
There is no excuse.
Everything.
I owe her $192.
Well, I'm giving her a judgment for $600. That way she's going to pay for the phone bill that you owe her, as well as the 10 months for the contract that she signed in good faith so that you would have a phone. That's all.
Thank you very
Funds are
much.
excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I did not tell her to cancel the service. I owe her $192. I only owe her for what I used, not for her canceling a contract.
I canceled it because you avoided
I will
me.
go ahead and pay that.
Yeah, why is it that when we paid you and we put my husband's pager number, somebody called back right away?
That's not my problem.
Don't trust people and don't do them favors.
Now, this is case number 332 on the calendar in the matter of Weidman versus Torres. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
What happened to you?
Carpal tunnel surgery.
Did it work?
Yeah, I can feel, but I don't know how well.
Mr. Weidman, you and the defendant were friends for a while. Are those prescription glasses,
Yes, ma'am.
sir? You and the defendant were friends for several years.
5 or 6 years, yes.
And according to you, you do jewelry, make jewelry
I'm
part-time.
an electrician by trade. It's a little hobby on the side.
And you had a ring that he liked, and you agreed to make one for him.
Yes,
And had you discussed the price with him?
yes. He's going to pay me $700. I'm trying to wrap it up within 3 to 6 months. There was no set payment plan.
And you made him the ring?
Yes,
Did you give it to him?
yes,
And did he pay you for it?
no,
So that's why you're here.
yes.
He got the ring back.
You gave it to him?
Yes, he came pounding on my door wanting his ring back. And I had it appraised for $300. He wanted $700. So I gave him the ring back.
He's lying. I wouldn't
So-
be going through all this right now if he gave me back the
That's
ring.
Why is he asking for $2,600 and not asking for the ring back? Because he's already got the ring back. He's just suing for verbal agreement, which I have nothing, he never said anything about that. He gave it to me as a gift.
Why
This
would
man
he-
has stayed in my house, used my washer dryer, ate my food, drank my booze, never charged him a penny.
So
And
what do you
now he
think-
wants
So what do you think this is-
$2,600 for a $300 ring?
Forget $2,600. But assuming, sir, that you were close enough for him to live in your home, right? Why would you think that at this point he's suing you?
He's mad about something. I don't know. He wants money. I don't know what it is.
Tell me.
I don't know what kind of delusions he's having. I've never lived at his house, for one.
You stayed
I've
at my
stopped
house many
by,
times.
a couple of times and spent the night a few times. We've gone out drinking together. And he's never given me that ring back, or I wouldn't be at this stage of the game.
Let me see the ring, sir. You say that you have one that was just like it.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
Like it.
Not the
Right there,
appraisal.
you got the
Just take off the ring. Let me see it.
I want to give her this paper.
I'm not interested in your appraisal. Your appraisal is really not important. Well, that is a handsome piece. Is the one that you made for him similar?
Exactly.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yeah.
He didn't make it for me. He had 3 of them, the same thing, that he already had. He didn't make anything for me.
Okay.
And then he gave it to me as a gift.
Well, tell me how that came about, sir, according to you.
He comes over all the time, used to, and just sit around and have a few beers and drink and stuff. I've always admired the ring, and he said, here, you can have it.
You must have had a fight about something.
No.
Something
Here's the
doesn't
ring.
sit right with
No,
me.
it doesn't sit right because every word out of his mouth's a lie at this stage of the
that's what
game.
you say.
I knocked on his door, wanted the ring back. There was this girl named Kelly. They weren't dating at the time. We went to Ojai to go have a drink, me and her girlfriend. We had a real bad time that night. And
that's
so
why
she
you're
came
suing
back.
Hey, don't talk to him. It's irritating. So at the time that you went for a drink with Kelly and her friend in Ojai,
Yes.
he wasn't around.
Yes,
And something happened when you were out there having a drink.
right.
Had you already given him this ring?
Oh, yes.
Okay. How much before?
Approximately a month.
Okay. So, approximately a month, you have a drink in Ojai with the girl he's dating and her friend.
That's a little bit incorrect. He was not dating her at the time. She used me to start dating him, and then he decided in his own mind that, you took out somebody I wanted to see, and I'm going to keep the ring. And that's exactly what happened. And if he could sit up here with a straight face and tell you that I gave him a ring, I'm never given a woman a ring, and on top of that, I'm not sleeping with him.
That's a good thing.
That's pretty bizarre for him to even say that.
Well-
I've never given anybody a $700 item in my life.
Mr. Weidman, the reason, quite frankly, you know, sometimes if people are really good friends, Mr. Weidman, don't get excited, please, sir, and don't shift from foot to foot. If you're a really good friend of his, it's not so bizarre that if you had several of these, even if you just had one of these, and he said, I really love that you might not take it off and say, I want it to please you.
I'm not financially able to give him a $700 item.
Okay. Now, you charge $700 for the ring.
Right.
Because there's $700 worth of gold here?
There's approximately about $450, $500.
Worth of gold, because it's a heavy ring.
Right, 26, 25.
But the other couple of $100 is for your labor in making it. Now, the only thing that I have to determine is whether you gave him back this ring. And I can't understand why he would be here if you gave him back the ring, sir.
Money. That's all I can figure.
Your Honor, I make $1,000 a week. I'm a union electrician. I make $30, $45 an hour. I have my pay stubs right here, and believe me, it's not money.
Then why are you asking $2,600 for a $700
Because
ring?
I have the ring, you know, it was like $700. The cost coming from the Bay Area, I estimated about 200 miles. It's 800 mile round trip. Lost wages at $30, $45 an hour. 2 days is $487. Appraisal was $50. The process server was $115. Mr. Bonner had to take off work today at $27 an hour.
What's he doing here?
He's the witness that a few months later that Mr. Torres still possessed this ring. I figured he was going to start this today.
Step up here, sir. Tell me your name.
Richard Bonner.
Mr. Bonner, how do you know Mr. Torres?
He's done some work for me.
What do you know about this ring?
I've seen it.
When was the last time you saw it on Mr. Torres?
Oh, it's, I think it was March when he was doing some work for me.
How do you remember it?
He's done more work for me since then.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't have the ring, so I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you may not have it, but I don't believe that you gave it back to him.
I did give it back to him.
I don't believe it.
And later today,
Tell me how much each one of these pool cues cost.
We figured between $1,800 and $2,000 per cue.
And what do these pool cues do for $2,000 a piece?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Weidman claims he made a ring for his biker buddy Larry Torres and was never paid. Larry says he gave the ring back to Charlie.
Mr. Torres, it is not common sense that you gave him back the ring and he goes to the trouble of serving you with summons, which cost him money, having the ring appraised, which cost him money, if in fact he had the ring in his possession. That just doesn't make sense to me, sir.
No, I don't have the ring, so I don't know what to tell you.
What, you may not have it, but I don't believe that you gave it back to him.
I did give it back to him.
I don't believe it. So I believe that you did not, in fact, return the ring to him. That doesn't mean that you still have it. I don't know what you did with it. Only you know what you did with it, and you didn't return it to him. Now, Mr. Weidman, I know you're suing for $2,600, and the truth of the matter is I'm not going to give you $2,600. I'm going to give you the $700 that you say you agreed on with this gentleman to pay for the ring. I also think that that gave you somewhat of a profit. You know, you said that there was
profit.
I'm speaking. That the gold in the ring itself was worth about $500 maximum, according to you. Mr. Torres was, in fact, a friend of yours. I don't see why you shouldn't charge him something, you know, because you did use your skill in making the ring. And if that's the way you do business with your friends, that's your business. But I'm certainly not going to give you a windfall of $2,600, sir. So the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Blondio versus Paget. Step forward, please.
Billiard supply owner Peggy Blondio says she gave 31-year-old Tim Paget $6,000 to make custom pool cues and is suing because he didn't finish the work.
Well, I must admit it's nice to know at my age you can learn something new. This case is about pool cues.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you, Miss Blondio, claim that the defendant breached a contract that you had made with him by failing to produce some custom-made pool cues for you within an appropriate period of time. You gave him $5,000 deposit? $6,000. $6,000 deposit. And he didn't deliver.
Correct.
So why don't you first tell me how much each one of these pool cues cost?
We didn't have an exact price, Mr. Pageant and I, as far as what he was going to charge me. We figured between $1,800 and $2,000 per cue.
And what do these pool cues do for $2,000 a piece?
Well, they're like a piece of art based on the person that makes the cue, the materials that are in it. These cues were to have ambonia burl, 14-karat gold, and a lot of ivory.
And is this your business?
Yes, I work for Beach Billiard Supply. I'm an owner, and I've done this for 11 years.
When did you make this agreement with him?
I gave Mr. Pageant a check on August 9th, 1996. The verbal contract went into agreement at that point. My store manager, Ken Harity, was the witness to that and was involved in deciding what the cues would be made out of and whatnot.
Okay, and what was the promised delivery date?
They were to be delivered in October of 1996.
And they weren't?
That's correct.
And he still has your $6,000?
That's correct.
All right, Mr. Pageant. Now, I see that there's something over there that doesn't look like a telescope, so it must be one of these fancy pool cues. Is that what one of those pool cues looks like? I would really like to see a $2,000 pool cue.
This is they're not finished. I stopped production in September. That was one of the anniversary cues, not complete.
September of '97, you stopped
yes,
production.
Your Honor.
Bird, could you get that? You don't have to put it together. I could sort of take a look at it.
No, this is two separate cues, Your Honor. This one here is a $10,000 pool stick.
It's $10,000?
Yes, Your Honor.
It can't fit on your finger, does
No,
it?
it
No,
can't.
If it can't fit on your finger, it ain't worth 10 grand. Well, it certainly is lovely. How long does it take you to make one of these things, sir?
Average 3 months to a year, depending on the materials and.
A year to make one?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, you can't. You got to be kidding me, sir.
No,
Because if
that's
you
not
charge,
correct.
shh, don't help. Because if that were true, then you only make $2,000 a year.
No, Your Honor. A lot of the time is just sitting time. When you have a large amount of money invested in materials, as I do in these cues, they sit for 3, 4, 5, 6 months before I put the actual gold in, the ivory in.
Why do they sit?
Because cues warp. They warp, and then if I was to sell a cue for $2,000 and 3 months later the person comes back and says the cue's warped, I have to replace that cue.
So it's got to sit and sort of ripen with age.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you say, I'm having trouble with material, I can't get the material, you can either wait or I'll give you your money back? Did you say that to her?
No, the money was sent.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Peggy Blondio is suing pool cue maker Tim Paget because he took her money and then broke their agreement by failing to make 10 custom pool cues.
Now, you took her money in August of 1996.
This is correct.
And you stopped production in September of 1997.
The agreed date was not in October. That's an impossibility. My name is in the Blue Book of Pool Cues. It says right in here that it takes me 3 to 8 months to make a cue, and that was 2 years ago.
Just a second. 3 to 8 months.
Correct.
So, August, September, October is not something that's out of fantasy, sir, because even according to you, 2 years ago, when you first entered into a contract with her in August of '96, you say that you could make a queue between 3 and 6 and 8 months. So August, September, and October. That's 3 months.
That's a very plain queue, Your Honor. That's like a $400 to $500 queue. I did not tell her I would have them done in October of
When
96.
did you tell her you would have them done, according to you, sir?
There was a BCA show in July of 97. I said I would try and have the first 3 done by then.
So you're telling her that she has to wait a year for her queues?
Originally, no. July of 97 was the show in Las Vegas.
That's 11 months later.
That's
August of 96 to July of 97.
okay.
That's 11 months later.
Correct.
That's when you said you would have them for her.
Exactly.
And you didn't.
I told her in January that I had not received the material yet. I was having major problems with the wood, that it was going to take longer. She asked me for a date, and I could not give her one.
Well, then why didn't you give her money back?
She didn't ask for it. She just said, get them done as soon as you can.
Excuse me, I did.
What did you say?
My mother is my business partner. Had not contacted Mr. Pageant in November, requesting the money back because I had come into some financial situations where I needed the money. So she had asked him to replace the money. I also
did somebody call and ask you for the money
Her mother
back
asked
in
me for
November?
the money back. I confronted Peggy. I said, Peggy, is this true? Do you want the money back? And Peggy says, no, don't pay any attention to my mother. I do not want the money back. I want the queues. Get them done as soon as you can. Those were her exact words.
No.
What was the next conversation that you had with him after your mother had the conversation with him and asked for the money back?
I told him that yes, I was entering. I was entering some financial situations. That I did need the money back. He said that he'd already invested in the materials and therefore couldn't give me the money back. Then I said I needed the queues as soon as possible as we were entering the Christmas season, and my hope was to sell them then.
Well, that's not so far off. He said, I've already invested in some material money, and you said, well, if you've already done that, as long as you get me the queues before Christmas, then fine. And what did he say?
Well, in November I was told I'd have them in the first or second week in December. In December, I was told I would have them in January. In January, I was told I'd have them in February because I wanted to go to a trade show. They never were produced. I tried to at least get 3 queues because there were supposed to be 10. That never materialized. My bi-weekly phone calls were reduced to weekly, monthly, and then bi-monthly. My store manager, Ken Haggerty, was witness to the date of completion that Mr. Pageant had stated to me, and that was October.
Tell me your name, sir.
Ken Haggerty.
Were you there when they made this contract?
I was.
And what do you recall was said?
To the best of my recollection, what we talked about, because I was part of the conversation, was what was going to be in the queues, approximately how much they would be worth, and when we would possibly get some of them. Hopefully, we asked to have at least 1 queue because we planned on a whole advertisement around this particular anniversary queue, and we were hoping to get at least 1 to take a photograph of to put in magazines.
What did he say about delivery, if you remember? Make sure if
To the best of my recollection, it was going to be by October, and then it became November, and then it became December, and it just progressed. And I spoke to him personally a couple of times, asking when can we get our queues, and I continually got excuses why we couldn't get them, and that was it.
Now, sir, to date, you do not have any pool queues to give them, is that right?
I stopped production on them when I was served papers by her attorney. And that was September 17th, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you say, I'm having trouble with material, I
told her I
can't
was
get the material, you can either wait or I'll give you your money back? Did you say that to her?
No, the money was
Right.
spent. I have receipts for over $5,000 worth of material that was sent out.
Just a minute, that's not her problem. You made an agreement with this lady to make pool cues for her within a reasonable period of time. According to you, that was, according to the book, 3 to 8 months. And 8 months after she gave you $6,000, she still had zippo, nothing. So you breached the contract. You got to give her back the money. My limit is $5,000 here. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm extremely pleased with it. I think that it was a fair decision.
The judge obviously doesn't know what she's talking about, so.
I'm just pleased that it turned out the way it did.
Now, this is case number 268 on the calendar in the matter of Rice versus Gardner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please, sir.
You graduated from high school.
Correct.
You were in charge of the high school yearbook,
Correct. The senior section.
where they put all the pictures of the seniors, and underneath it, you know, most likely to succeed, most likely to have 10 children before 30th birthday, those little things, right? And Miss Rice, you claim in this lawsuit, where you're asking for $3,500, that the defendant caused a very ugly picture of you to be placed in the yearbook. Not the picture you had selected.
Correct.
And that's because the two of you had some sort of a history together.
Correct.
So tell me about it.
She disliked me due to my relationship with her now ex-boyfriend, who's my witness. And she was very jealous, and this is a very malicious and dishonest thing to do. And
let me see the picture that she put of you in the yearbook.
This is the picture that was supposed to be in there, and if you notice, it says yearbook selection on the back. And I verified that with the photography studio.
Oh, that's not such a bad picture in there.
My eyes are half shut. It's not the point that it's like a horrible picture, it's the point that everybody that turns to that picture is going to see me and remember me as that. And that's not what I want. And that wasn't what I asked for.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that I looked at it, because I was really picturing something that looked like Quasimodo based upon what you wrote in your complaint. I mean, you're a very pretty young lady. It would be very hard to make you look ugly. I want to tell you something. Truth of the matter is, I sort of like this one better than this one, but that's just my own personal taste. Let's find out what the defense is for putting the picture that she had not selected in the yearbook. Miss Gardner.
Okay. There's about 300 senior pictures that were in my charge. What was supposed to happen is that seniors were supposed to specify which picture they wanted in the yearbook.
Show her the back of that picture.
Either they were to call their photo company.
No.
Right.
She did that. She did everything she was supposed to do. Miss Gardner, I want you to look at me and tell me whether, when you selected that picture for her, did you get a stack of them from the photographer?
Yes, we got a whole box of envelopes.
Okay. That you took any special care in selecting her picture?
No. There were 3 other individuals that worked with me the first day. Turi, who is my witness, worked with me on the first day, and then there were 2 other individuals who helped me.
You worked with her?
Yes.
Step up here.
And what we did is that the seniors that did specify which picture they wanted,
She did that.
Right. The numbers that did indicate, we pulled those pictures. And
Hers
then,
did.
And then the 3/4 of the seniors who did not specify, we were advised by Mr. Sonamaker to pick the top photo from each envelope.
Okay, but she picked which photo she wanted. It's on the back of her photo, that's the one she picked.
If Mr. Sonamaker had a meeting with her and she specified, he did not let me know. We did divide up the pictures between me and the other 3 individuals that worked with me, and since we were working very fast, no, I don't know who handled Audra's picture.
Do you remember who handled her picture?
No, I going through, it takes you about 2 minutes to do each one, and you don't even look at their names really. You just look to see if the barcode was there. And
now, Miss Rice, other than the fact that you have a history with Miss Gardner over you.
Correct. In which
what other evidence do you have that she purposely picked the wrong picture to put in your yearbook?
Okay, this is what
Here we go.
The process I went through.
I know the process you went through. You picked the right picture. You put the right thing on the back. Just tell me what proof you have that she purposely selected the wrong picture. Do you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Just a minute.
Your Honor, on the last day of school, she was pestering me to get me to sign her yearbook.
Who was?
Miss Gardner. And she said that, "Do you see Audra's picture?" And I said, "Yeah." And she laughed hysterically as if to say that she did it herself. She said, "Ha ha ha, did you see how funny I looked?"
So she just laughed and said, "Did you see her picture?" Don't tell me as if yours in your mind. What she said was, "Did you see Audra's picture?" And she laughed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you do that?
No, I did not. I would like to add that.
Just a minute.
Okay, sorry.
Sure you did. Sure you did. That's exactly what you said to him. Don't give me a lot of baloney.
Can I please add something?
Add it.
Okay, I did not say that to him. I do feel that...
What did you say to him? I'm not interested in what you feel. What did you say to him?
Actually, from what I remember, there was a lot of goofing off. There was other people there. Jacob did run into a fellow who did want to fight him.
What do you
being a lot
remember
of
about the
people.
picture?
What do I remember about the picture?
About the conversation about the picture.
There was no conversation about a picture. I feel that he's not a credible witness. I do have a restraining order against this gentleman.
You do?
Yes.
Can I see
right
it?
here?
I also have notes that she wrote displaying her disgust for Audra. This is going to be a quote directly from Sarah. "I saw Audra at lunch, and if it weren't for my heavy bag and a cigarette, her ass would have been down." She continues to say about how upset she is, and then she says, "I don't really mind. It's not you that I care about and don't want to hurt, it's them."
Let me see the restraining order. Curious about this. He looks like butter would melt in his mouth, right? Why did you get an order of protection against him?
I was being stalked. There were times when he's tried to strangle me. Coming to my house late at night, I felt very unsafe.
And you had a hearing on this, a trial?
Yes, I did.
Were you represented by an attorney at this trial?
He did not show up.
I was in Utah.
What were you doing in Utah?
I went on a road trip with my parents.
You mean you knew you had a court date and you didn't show up? That requires an answer, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
That was pretty stupid. That was pretty stupid. How old are you?
18.
Did you tell your parents you had a court date?
Yeah, when we were in Utah.
Oh, the more I spend time here, the more I love my children.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I believe, no matter what you tell me, that you selected a picture of her different from the one that she had selected just to give her an old zinger.
And later today,
Well, he didn't give us much of a chance really to get out of the way. He used his car as a battering ram.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Audra Sullivan Rice is suing her classmate and editor of their high school yearbook, Sarah Gardner, claiming Sarah deliberately selected an ugly photo for her senior portrait. Sarah claims it wasn't her job to pick the photos.
The picture of you in the yearbook isn't terrible. As a matter of fact, I think I like it a little bit better than the one you selected. I do, however, think that there was some design to get that picture in there. It just seems too coincidental to me that she's in charge of the yearbook, she can't stand you, you pick a picture and a different picture goes in there, right? And there's all just too much coincidence that doesn't sit comfortably with me. But if she picked the wrong picture, truth of the matter is, I think she picked a better one. So I don't think you should be that discouraged. Okay. And Miss Gardner, there's a certain thing about misusing your authority. If anything, you should have been far more careful about selecting her picture, as making sure it was the right picture.
Right, but there was no specification.
Oh, yes, there was. You keep saying there was no specification, and I'm telling you.
There were a lot of seniors who did come to my attention that they did specifically pick a picture, and then they
Look at the
weren't
back
on
of the picture. Would you hands on the picture? I don't want them to touch each other. Right? What does that say back there?
Actually, I did not.
I didn't ask you what you see. I asked you what it said back there.
Yearbook selection.
Okay. Bottom line is, I believe, no matter what you tell me, that you selected a picture of her different from the one that she had selected just to give her an old zinger. The fact that you happen to have picked one that wasn't terrible and that I really think is much nicer is really not the issue. It's not, you're not damaged $3,500 worth, madam.
What I wanted to
You're not damaged $3,000 by this photograph. You damaged maybe a lesson. So what's a lesson? There's $100, Bird.
That's good.
$100 for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Gorman versus Siemens. Step forward, please.
Mike Gorman says, while attempting to retrieve a package during a UPS strike, picketer Don Siemens pounded his sign on the hood of his car, causing severe damage.
All right, Mr. Gorman, you were expecting an important package that was to arrive, unfortunately, during the UPS strike.
That's correct.
And you had to go and pick that package up at the warehouse, correct?
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that when you went there, the defendant was one of the strikers, he was online, and he damaged your car.
That's correct.
You want to tell me what happened, please?
Yes, actually, I made arrangements to have the package shipped to me by FedEx because of...
Listen, sir, I got other cases to do today.
I understand.
At some point, you had to go and pick up your package at the UPS warehouse.
That's correct.
You're in your car.
I'm in my car.
And you're driving there.
Yes.
And what do you see?
The strikers were blocking the returning trucks, and I circled the block numerous times until the police finally arrived. I went in with the returning trucks, picked up my package, and when I left, I knew it was going to be trouble. And several of the strikers were marching very close and impeding my exit. And they started jumping on the front of my car and on the trunk. They were pounding on the windows, cursing at me, chanting slogans. I inched along, and the police finally came over and removed the people on my car.
They were actually on your car?
Oh, yes, ma'am. At least 8 of them.
Okay.
On the front and the back. And Mr. Siemens was the last to be removed. And when he exited, he took his sign and pounded it into my hood. And I immediately stopped the car, and the police separated us, and he went over and took our names and information.
What was the cost of the damage to your car?
Approximately $500.
You have the bill?
I do.
All right, Mr. Siemens.
I think he's living in a fantasy world. I can't believe this.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you interrupting me? Two people can't talk at the same time. And when my mouth is moving, you have to be quiet.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mike Gorman is suing UPS worker Don Siemens for damaging his car with a picket sign during a strike. Don says he was only trying to get out of the way when Mike drove through the picket line, nearly running him over.
You're on strike.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
You're circling.
We were walking the sidewalk there, yes, back and forth.
So tell me what happened.
Well, he didn't give us much of a chance, really, to get out of the way. He used his car as a battering ram and knocked us, some of us out of the way, myself onto the hood, and trying to get off of the hood the best I could. I guess my sign hit his car somehow.
What were you doing in front of his car?
Well, we were on the picket line.
No, what were you, not we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What were you doing?
I'm sorry.
Listen, you're walking around with a sign, Mr. Siemens.
Back
You
and
see
forth.
his car. You have several choices. You can either move to the side and make way for him to leave.
He didn't give us enough time, Your Honor. No, he didn't, honest. There was about 20 of us out there, 15 to 20 of us. And he hit 5 or 6 of us. Jason was there to contest it.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
Okay, we were ordered by our union to go on strike. We're all in front of the building striking. The plaintiff comes, he did not even slow down. He almost hit 3 of us when he was coming in, did not slow down. I don't know where he's getting this, oh, I inched in, inched out. He didn't do anything. Okay, so when he's coming out, we have more people come out to block him because this is ridiculous, the fact that he came in and almost ran us over. I mean, we're pedestrians.
Just a second.
All right.
You just said a very important thing, sir. You said you had a lot more people out there to block him. That's what you just said.
Well, we set up.
Just a sec. Hey, that's exactly what he said, sir. He said there were people blocking him, cursing at him. Right? Mr. Cronky.
We were telling him to stop.
You were telling him to stop what?
Because I was right in front of his car, and we were telling him to stop because he was running me over. His bumper was pushing right into my legs.
Why didn't you just walk away, Mr. Cronky?
Because he was already running into me at the time, Your Honor.
No, Mr. Cronky. My recollection of the UPS strike is that there were managers driving the trucks, correct?
Well, while the policemen were there.
Yeah, yes, is that correct?
Yes, management.
And is it also correct that they were being heckled, for want of a better term, as the trucks were going in and out?
We were just stopping them from doing their course of business. We were setting up a picket line.
You were stopping them
Yes. We were not
from going into their building.
Isn't that the whole purpose of a picket line?
Yes.
Isn't that the purpose of a picket line? No, sir.
We're disrupting?
No, sir. That's not the purpose of a picket line. Let me ask you this question, sir. Do you believe that if this gentleman was going to pick up his package and he had a clear path to go
He
into...
didn't have a clear path, Your Honor.
Are you interrupting me? 2 people can't talk at the same time. And when my mouth is moving, you have to be quiet. Do you think that if this man, who was doing nothing more than going to pick up his package, got there, saw your picket line, and there was a path for him to go in, pick up his package, and come out, we would be standing here today? No.
He went in about 30 miles an hour also into the driveway. And on the way out, there were more pickets for him to go through.
There were,
what right does that give him to run into us, Your Honor?
I don't believe, sir, that he ran into you. I believe that you were blocking him. That's what he just said. They brought out a whole bunch of other people to block him.
I believe
that's what your witness just said to me, Mr. Siemens.
We walked back and forth the street. That's what a picket line's for.
I believe at the time I was a pedestrian and an automobile hit me. Is there something right with that?
That's what you believe?
Yeah, what right
That's what you believe? How many people were out there on the picket line by the time he came out?
Approximately 20.
Okay, so there are 20 people, and he's one person in his car. Do you think that that's intimidating with people yelling and screaming and cursing? You think that that's intimidating? You can't tell me that you weren't yelling at the people who were going into...
No, ma'am.
Mr. Siemens.
We were not yelling.
He wasn't there for any other purpose than to pick up his package.
We had no
and
idea.
run over a few people. That's all right.
Run over a few
gives
people.
Them the right to run over, to hit us.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You have no right to inhibit him from going to pick up his package in any way. What if it contains insulin for his baby that he needed? You didn't give a damn. It didn't make any difference. What was in this package?
Excuse me.
It could have been penicillin. It could have been a heart transplant. It could have been anything else. The fact that it was, what was it, computer equipment or something?
It was an item I needed for my business.
Your business was impeding business as usual for UPS. That's a legitimate thing to do as far as a strike is concerned, letting people know you're on strike, that you have a grievance. He's an individual citizen, and he has a right to go and pick up his property. And if he chooses to go through your picket line, he chooses to do that. That's his choice. And you have no right to impede that. You owe him $461.85, which was the cost to fix his car. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
We were not picketing the customers. And we would have opened up and let them through. He didn't give us time.
He didn't even slow down when he came in to get his package.
Your line here is bringing disgrace to the Teamsters Union, and especially the...
Oh, God, you gotta be kidding
and
me.
especially the
that,
local...
that doesn't have anything to do with it. That does not have anything to do with it. You ran into me.
sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Buzzini, you say that the defendant has in his possession pictures of you and has been selling them and is not authorized to have them or sell them. You want $5,000 in damages.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you tell me how he came into possession of these pictures and why you think that you're damaged to the tune of $5,000?
Well, Your Honor, my wife had arranged a public appearance with the defendant. I was to appear, and what I was promoting at the time was a couple posters that I had and also a calendar which I'd worked on. It was a project of 2 years. This is one of the pictures that will be in question. The agreement was to appear for approximately 2 hours, which was fine, and I would be signing autographs of the posters, and that's all that I was aware of at the time.
Signing the posters?
Posters, correct.
Are you a model by trade, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And I do have a portfolio here. This is my livelihood. And
Okay. And Mr. Muniz? Muniz, you have a store that's called Baby Jane's of Hollywood?
Yes.
What kind of store is this?
Celebrity collectibles.
And how do you make your money?
Normally selling stills and posters and autographs. We have autograph sessions a couple times a year.
And is this one of those autograph sessions that
Yes.
he arranged for?
Mrs. Bazzini came to us to carry his posters, and she wanted to sell us all the posters. We don't normally stock non-movie posters. So what we agreed with her was we would give him 100% of the money for the poster sales as long as he would sign the other photographs that we had, which were from a Playgirl layout from 1985. He was Man of the Year. But we asked if she could supply us with another photo that was current and that he had clothes on, that we could use at the press and that he could sign at the event.
How many photographs were you supposed to get for you to sell in exchange for letting him come in and sign his posters and sell them?
We printed 50 of each image. There are 3 images.
So you had 150
Yes.
altogether that was supposed to be your property. And you were supposed to keep 100% of the revenues from those?
No, he would get $5 for every signature that he put onto a photo. And if people came in with their own items, like their copies of Playgirl, he would get $5 for that also.
Your Honor, the defendant had mentioned to me prior to me arriving, would you object to signing other photographs if people brought them along? And I said, no, I'll accommodate that, and that's no problem.
Is that relevant?
Yes, it is.
How?
Because halfway during or not even halfway during, they started bringing pictures that was this picture, which I had no idea at the time that was printed up. This was not to be printed up. This is a project, Your Honor, that is in progress. I have not sold this yet.
Who started bringing those pictures?
Some of the fans that were lining up had a couple. There wasn't many. Most of them were the Playgirl, which I really didn't know that was going to happen either. That they would.
Well, they had to get that picture from someplace, sir.
Well, they got it from Mr. Moniz, which I didn't understand.
How did he get that?
I gave him, not this particular picture, a larger, I believe, 11 by 14 print. My wife brought it to him to advertise that I would be there on January 11th. Your Honor, this is my livelihood. I'll just
Mr.
give you,
Bazzini, I'm trying
I'll
to
give you an
understand.
example.
No, don't give me an example. I'm not.
Well, this is.
Listen to me.
Okay, ma'am.
Put it down. Put it down.
I'm trying to show you my work, what I do for a lot of money, my livelihood, to raise my children and my family.
Mr. Bazzini, this is a court, sir. Evidently, from your papers, and he acknowledges that you signed a bunch of them quickly, and he kept some of them. Is that correct?
No, they were. He was paid for everything that he signed. There were leftover unsigned ones. So in the interim between the December appearance and today, probably 5 photos have been sold that were unsigned.
And how much did you sell them for?
$15.
A piece?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bazzini, that's what this lawsuit is about. Those, let us just say they were 5
Even if it's one, yes.
Okay. I want you to explain to me how you were damaged
Ma'am,
for $5,000.
Your Honor, if I can physically show you the type of work that I've done that has brought me this commercial reel that I have is
Mr.
$1 million.
Bazzini, this is not an opportunity for you to impress me with your work, sir.
No.
Well, I
ma'am,
want you to explain to me how you're damaged. You sat at a desk, sir, and signed for $5 a piece the same pictures that he sold unsigned for $15 a piece. So it's not as if you didn't give away those pictures or sell those pictures when you were sitting there. So I don't understand where you come to $5,000, sir.
Ma'am, when I have a letter here, if you will, from my agent that explains what I make per image. My agreement with Mr. Moniz was entirely to promote something, correct? It was.
Just a minute, Mr. Bazzini, you're not following me. This is not a situation where they're invading your privacy, that they're using unauthorized pictures of you, that they're doing something in an underhanded fashion. They had some leftover pictures. You shouldn't have done that. You acknowledge, sir, that you shouldn't have sold those pictures. That wasn't part of your agreement.
Well, in movie memorabilia, that's what everything is the leftover pictures from press kits. And
I know, but was it your understanding with his wife that you could keep those?
I understood that we could. If
Okay.
it was a problem, he's more than, I mean, we could love to
Who are
destroy
you?
the
You want to
photos
say
for you.
something?
I'm the co-owner of Baby
This
Jane
is
of Hollywood.
Roy Wyndham.
Yes.
And our entire agreement with Mr. Bazzini appearing was through his wife. We never once talked to Mr. Bazzini on the phone before the signing.
That's a lie.
I kept asking the wife, actually talking to a machine, saying that we need a current photograph for the day of the signing, and we needed a current photograph of him so we could advertise it, because the photograph that we had was him nude. And we can't advertise those in local newspapers.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think your ego maybe is a little too big. You know, our story is Baby Jane of Hollywood, not Brian Bazzini of Hollywood.
And later today,
I don't think that once you pass the age of 2 or 3, you ought to show your rear end in public. So you keep the photographs.
Yes, I will.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 34-year-old model Brian Bazzini is suing the owner of Baby Janes of Hollywood, Charles Muniz, for selling unauthorized photographs. Mr. Muniz says it was an oversight and not done out of malice.
We're talking about the leftover pictures, pictures that you made extra of that were not used at the signing.
Correct.
That he is angry about because he said he was not paid for those pictures.
We paid for everything to be printed. We paid for everything to be made. And when he came in, everything was available for customers to purchase that day. And he saw the quantity that we had of each.
So?
And the remainder was there to be sold.
Well, but that's what he's saying. He's saying it was not his understanding that the remainder was going to stay with you to be sold. Is that what you're
Your
complaining
Honor,
about?
I didn't even know that these pictures existed. And if you could put yourself in the situation, you have
Where's
100
your wife?
people in line.
Where's your wife?
My wife was with my children.
Just a second.
She was 9 months pregnant.
Where's your
at
wife
the time.
today?
Today she's with my daughter at the doctor.
Mr. Bazzini,
Well, I think
you want to
that-
tell me what doctor it is? I'll give him a call.
Oh, I don't know.
Huh? I'm good at that. You want to tell me what doctor? Your wife was there, and your wife was the one who negotiated with these people what they were supposed to do. We haven't. Why don't you sit down?
I have a picture here that he saw, and this is a photograph that he's complaining about. They autographed to me the day of the signing, so he knew that we had available in the store. He knew that
After
they
the
were
fact,
sold.
Your Honor. After the
he wrote
fact.
on there,
I'm sitting there with 100 people in
I appreciate the
line.
hospitality.
Sit down, sir.
Your
We're
Honor,
reaching a point, sir,
I
where
have
I'm
100
getting frustrated because
I'm
right-
getting frustrated also. I have 100 people in line. I can't stop it. I'll look like a damn prima donna. Pardon me. I look like a prima donna. I mean, what am I supposed to do? These pictures are starting to come. It's my understanding that I'm selling posters. I've traveled all over the world, and if you'd allow me to show you something, I could give you an idea of what I make.
Sir,
I
this
make
is not an opportunity to you. This is not an
per
opportunity
appearance. Not $5. I was doing that more as a favor and to get something circulated.
Mr. Bazzini,
with a new.
you're full of
with a new
baloney. Let me tell you why you're full of baloney, sir.
I've got letters.
Let me
here.
tell you
And I've
why
got
you're full of
everything
baloney,
else
sir.
here.
You're full
Tell
of baloney, A, because your wife entered into these negotiations. You did not. Your wife is not here today. There's a reason for it, and it's not because she's with the doctor with your child. 2, you still
Where's she at,
haven't
Brad?
told me today why you believe you're entitled to $5,000. Your complaint is that he sold the pictures without your autograph, 5 of them, and you say that you're damaged to the tune of $5,000 when you sat there yourself and signed the same pictures for $5 a piece.
Can I clarify something?
Go ahead.
I questioned it the first time this picture was presented to me to sign. I said, this is a project. I don't want this picture out. That's like revealing the cover of your book to the public before people see it. I questioned it. They said it's for a few of your wonderful fans or your best fans. Somebody said that, and I said, how do you define who's the best fan here? And I said, okay, fine. I mean, I'm sitting there in front of a bunch of people, ma'am. I don't want to make a ruckus.
Just a second. So you said, okay, fine, and you signed them.
The alternative was to walk out. Does that make me look? That doesn't make me look too great in front of people that sat in line for me,
Listen to
Your
me,
Honor.
sir.
I mean,
that's your option. If they presented you with pictures and you didn't want to sign them, you could have said, I'm not signing those. I'm just signing my posters, or I'll sign the photographs that people come with.
Well, that's good publicity.
Fine. You sold 5 pictures of him?
Yes.
And you sold them for $15 a piece?
Yes. Ma'am, can I just show you a letter from my agent?
No.
To give you an idea? I mean,
absolutely not. I'm not interested in a letter from your agent.
That is billboards all over the world for 5, 10, 20 grand.
Mr. Bozzini, how much did you make for the... Hey.
Pardon me?
How much did you make for the whole day?
Somewhere around $700-800.
That's not $5,000, sir. So it seems that at least on some occasions you work for less than $5,000 a day. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $75, which is the amount of the 5 pictures, the most that you sold. Fares at $15 a piece. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
No witness. If everybody could just take a damn picture of me, then I guess I wouldn't have much of a profession. That's like having vigilantes do the work for Judge Judy. Guess she'd be out of a job, wouldn't she? Might be a good idea.
And now the next case.
Parties on McKenzie versus Cooper. Step forward, please.
62-year-old Betty McKenzie says 72-year-old Lonnie Cooper knocked her to the floor while she was in line at her bank. Lonnie says it was Betty who did the shoving.
So you two people are online in a bank. You never saw each other before, is that right?
That's right.
You say this nice gentleman over here assaulted you. He says that you assaulted him. I can hardly believe that, looking at the two of you. So, Miss McKenzie, let me hear your version of what happened at this bank.
Okay. He was on my right.
You're online?
Yes, I'm in the line. He was on the right.
What was he doing on the right?
He was at a teller.
He was at the teller?
He was at the teller.
So he was in front of you and to the right?
That's right. Okay. I was getting ready, the man was getting ready to come out to teller on my left. The man dropped a piece of paper.
Which man dropped a piece of paper?
The man that was coming out the teller on my left.
So what happened?
I told him he dropped a piece of paper. He said, forget it. And he walked on out the door. The man on my right, he gonna come in front of me to pick up the piece of paper with his right hand.
That's this gentleman?
Yes. And take his left hand and knock me to the floor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your lawyer thought you were going to be able to get a lot of money from the bank. And it wasn't the bank's fault because Mr. Cooper had bad manners.
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 62-year-old Betty McKenzie says while standing in line at her bank, 72-year-old Lonnie Cooper knocked her to the floor. Mr. Cooper denies any wrongdoing and claims Ms. McKenzie was the one who caused the disturbance.
Mr. Cooper?
Yeah. In the first place, it was on the right-hand side of the teller. And the fellow, the elderly gentleman in front of me, dropped most of his stuff. And I reached down to try to help him. And she pushed on past. And I did this to her. I didn't know what it was. And in turn, she wound up over in there.
What do you mean, Mr. Cooper? She brushed on past you.
Well, she was behind me, so she didn't have no business in front of me.
Just a second. What do you mean she brushed on past you, Mr. Cooper?
Yeah, just like that. And
who is this?
It's a witness.
Is that your witness?
Character witness.
I'm not interested in a character witness. I assume that you're both characters. Because anybody who can get involved in this is got to be a character. Now listen to me. You stand up for a second. I want you to show me how she brushed on past you.
Come on. See,
You're her. So tell me, show me what she did to you.
the elderly gentleman was up front.
Right.
And I was here and trying to help him with his stuff.
Right.
And she come past me, and I shoved her like that, and she went over into the...
Right.
See, she was behind me. She
I
wasn't in
understand
front of
that,
me.
sir. Mr. Cooper, step back to where the microphone is. Sit down. Mr. Cooper, why did you push her?
She came, brushed past. I told you I was standing in front, trying to help the fella, which the paper was on the floor.
Why did you push her?
I didn't push. She came past just like that.
No, you pushed her. You just told me that you pushed her.
But it was a right on the right-hand side.
I don't care. Right,
back.
left, middle. It doesn't make any difference, Mr. Cooper. You pushed this lady down. You had no right to do that, sir.
Well?
Yes, that's what you told me. You told me that you pushed her. And she fell. She's not 12 years old. You pushed the lady, she fell down.
Go around pushing women.
Well, but you did push
and
her,
if she had
sir.
acted like a lady and stayed in the line like she's supposed to, this would never be happening.
Mr. Cooper, you are not a... Shh.
Order.
Mr. Cooper, you are not a behavior monitor. A bank behavior monitor. If she did something wrong, you might have said something to her, but you had no right to push her. Now, Miss McKenzie, my question to you is
I didn't intend to push her. I wouldn't have to push her if she had stayed back there where she was supposed to be.
Okay. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Cooper. You're not following me, sir.
Okay.
Miss McKenzie, you say you were injured.
Yes,
How were
I
you
was.
injured, madam?
Like I said, he pushed me to the floor hard. My ear, my back, my legs, I got photos of it.
Can I see it, please? Ooh, that's a nasty. That's just between you and me, okay? Do you have doctor's reports?
Yes, I do.
May I see them, please? I don't think that once you pass the age of 2 or 3, you ought to show your rear end in public. I mean, that's a... So you keep the photographs.
Yes, I will.
How will she get past me if I'm in front of her?
Mr. Cooper, stop being a nudnik.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You had medical bills of $2,645?
That's one of them.
When did this incident occur? What date?
The 4th of March.
This wouldn't have happened if she had been a lady and stayed back there where she was supposed to be, but she wanted to be bullheaded.
Mr. Cooper, she has a lot of medical bills here, and you did the wrong thing. You have medical bills that are about $3,000, $4,000. Were any of them reimbursed by your insurance?
No.
Why not?
I had got a lawyer at first, but he had thought it was the bank. And then when he found out it wasn't the bank, then I
Then he
had to take
dropped
it on my... Yes.
Don't you have medical insurance?
I had Medicaid.
Did you submit these bills to Medicaid?
No, well, my doctor had told me not to do that.
Your doctor told you not to do that because your lawyer thought he was going to be able to work up a big medical bill so that you were going to be able to get a lot of money from the bank. Right. And it wasn't the bank's fault
No, it
because
wasn't
Mr.
the
Cooper
bank's
had
fault.
bad manners.
Yeah.
But I think, Mr. Cooper, that what you did to this lady was wrong, and she suffered for months as a result of your pushing her. She's suing for $5,000. That's what I'm giving her, $5,000, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It appears that this lady was just trying to get money, and that's exactly what she got. And if her, she
takes that much. I have 2 witnesses.
No, it's just another
I have the
example
manager of the bank
of people
and
just
everything.
ripping you off.
I'm through.
Family torn apart by money.
I totally agree.
Mr. Hayes, this is your daughter.
That's correct.
And as I understand this complaint, your mother, who is still alive, is that correct?
That's correct.
How old is she?
94.
Where does she live?
She lives with me.
How long has she lived with you?
She's been living with me almost 6 months now.
Where did she live before that?
She lived in 137 Baker Apartment 1.
And she moved in with you, why, sir?
Because she's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Now, you have power of attorney over all your mother's property recently acquired, is that right?
That's correct.
According to your complaint, your mother, during her lifetime, set up different CDs and bank accounts for her children and her grandchildren. You're one of the grandchildren.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, your daughter went to the bank and took out a loan against the CD that was in your mother's name in trust for her.
That's correct.
Is that
That's
right?
correct.
And she did so without your knowledge as the person with power of attorney over your mother's affairs. Why did you do that?
I went to the bank under my grandmother's consent. She told me to go get the interest that was on the CD.
When did your grandmother tell you that?
She told me, she was always telling me that, Carlonda, to help you and the kids, go get the interest on your CD, go get the interest on your CD. And I was like, no, because the interest was only $500. I was like, the $500 is not going to help me, Nana. She said, go to the bank and get your interest off your CD.
Okay.
So when I went to the bank...
When? Let her finish, sir.
When I went to the bank, the Great Western representative told me that you could take out a loan against your CD. You don't have to take out the interest. You can just go ahead and take out a loan for 90%.
90% of what was in the account?
Exactly.
And how much was in the account altogether?
Well, the original CD was for $10,000.
Okay. When you say the original CD, had it grown?
There was interest on it from Bayview Federal, where it was. It grown to... My grandmother had left the interest in there, I guess, a couple of times, and it was $10,900.
It was $10,900 when you took out this loan against it?
No, ma'am. It was only $8,000 by the time I got there to the bank.
It was $8,000. Now, how did the account read? What's your grandmother's name?
Nancy.
Nancy
Buckner.
Nancy Buckner in trust for?
No, it read Nancy Buckner, Carlonda Hayes, power of attorney Charles Hayes. Because by
Can I see the way the account is written, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were told that you could take out a loan.
Right, for 90% of the CD.
Okay. And you did?
I didn't take out 90. I only took out 50.
So you took out $4,000?
Yes.
And you had to pay back the interest?
Exactly.
Did you do that?
No, because they told me that no payment was needed to be made until June, a year later. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to make any payment throughout the year. I could pay $20, $10, or zero until the next year.
Well, Mr. Hayes, this says that this account is in your name, Nancy Edwards, and Carolondra Hayes. That's her.
That's correct.
This isn't an in trust for account.
No, ma'am.
It was in trust until I moved it. It wasn't in Great Western.
I don't care where it was. Listen to me. This has 3 names on this account.
I realize that. Yeah.
That means anybody can do whatever they want with this bit of money. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So you're suing her, your daughter.
That's
I'm
correct.
going to find out why in a second, Mr. Hayes.
Because he's greedy.
For $4,497, which is, I assume, $4,000 that she took out and the other $400 for some sort of interest. Is that right?
No.
What?
It's for credit card that she took out in my mother's name in Nordstrom's that she didn't pay.
I don't have that in the...
I have it here, Your Honor.
I don't care what you have there. I don't have it in your complaint, sir.
And I didn't know about this credit card because
You don't have to address the credit card. It's not in his complaint.
Okay.
It's not in his complaint. It's not here, period.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
She took out $4,000, therefore you're suing her for $4,000. She can take out that money if she wants to.
Yeah, I understand that.
So why are you suing her?
I'm suing her because she didn't pay for it. She made no efforts to pay for it. Can I explain to you how this led up to this?
Sure.
She started off from the day that she graduated. My mother bought her a new car to graduate. From there, she went on to college. A couple of years later, she wanted to get married. She came home. My mother and I paid for her wedding. Came a little over $12,000. After her wedding, she moved on. After she moved on, a couple of years later, she wanted a divorce. She got a divorce. She moved on to Atlanta. In Atlanta, she got in a little trouble. She wanted to come home. She borrowed $3,200 to come home. She said she would pay for that.
Borrowed from whom?
From my mother. Then once she got here, she didn't have any money, so she needed a place to stay. So she borrowed another $1,600.
From whom?
From my mother.
When you say she, Mr. Hayes,
yes.
When you say she borrowed the money, were you there when she spoke to her grandmother?
No.
No, I wasn't there, but by me being power of attorney, my mother explained this to me.
Just a second. When did your daughter take this money from your mother? How long ago?
That's been about 5 years ago.
And when were you appointed power of attorney?
1993.
So this all happened before you were appointed as power of attorney. So let me explain something to you, sir. I assume that you were given power of attorney over your mother's money because you say that she suffers from Alzheimer's. She can't take care of her affairs. Is that right?
Not only that, as that I'm the eldest. And
doesn't make any difference. Eldest. So she gave, with no notes, I assume.
No notes. This was
her
just
granddaughter money.
Correct. That's correct.
Good. That's what grandmothers do with their grandchildren.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He wants all the money. He wants to take everyone's money, and he doesn't want to see us with anything. He wants to remodel his home, buy his Harley Davidson, his boat, and everything else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes is suing his daughter, Carolanda, because she took money from a bank account set up by her grandmother. Carolanda says the account was opened for her benefit and the money was rightfully hers.
Go ahead. So tell me some more. So she got into trouble. She came back. It's another $1,600. Go ahead.
Would you tell her quit saying words to me?
I don't want you to speak to him.
Yes, ma'am.
If you're speaking to him, I don't want you to speak to him.
I'm not speaking to him.
Good. Go.
Okay, now my mother calls me. She says, I want you to go and give Carolanda the interest off her CD. So instead of making it, just getting the interest off of it, I went and put it into Great Western. It was in Bayview Federal. I put it into Great Western. So then I called her and told her to go down, put your Social Security number on it so that you can get the interest from now on. Therefore, I will put your name on the CD. Her name wasn't on the CD.
That's a lie.
Shh.
Hey.
He's not telling the truth.
Well, show me. Show me. Show me that your name was on the CD.
Oh, it was on the CD.
Show me. That's what I want to see. Show me.
I'm saying he's lying about the reason why he put my name in the CD.
Show me. Before I went to Great Western, what bank was it in?
Bayview Federal.
Show me Bayview Federal. This doesn't show me anything.
Okay.
Would you tell her also, Your Honor, do not call me a liar?
Shh. Listen. I didn't hear that she called you a liar. If she called you anything, she's not supposed to speak out in court unless I speak to her.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm not speaking to her. I'm not looking at her.
Thank you. So anyway, I went in to take care of some banking business at Great Western, and the bank agents told me that there's no payments been made on this loan, and there's no interest been paid on it, and within the next 6 months, we're phasing out this type of loan because the bank isn't making any money on it. So I said, okay, I'll get in touch with my daughter. I called my daughter, and I asked her, I said, what are you going to do about this? She says, I don't have any money. I'm not going to pay it. Sue me. That's where we are today.
Okay. And your defense is that you didn't have to pay this money back according to the loan agreement by the bank for another few months,
No.
and therefore you were not in default.
Right.
There were a couple. Go ahead.
But he's lying. He did not call me and say that the CD was about to expire and that I better pay the interest on it or whatever. And I don't know what he did, but he closed everyone's CD. No one, all the grandchildren's, my aunts, everyone, every
How much
CD
money
is
does your
gone.
mother have in her estate, Mr. Hayes?
At the time that when she's speaking,
Now, how much money does your mother have in her estate?
she has $40,000,
And this time last year, how much money did your mother have?
close to $80,000.
And the $40,000 was spent how, sir?
It was, she's speaking of the other loan, is because her brother took a loan out at the same time, this type of loan.
Against?
And then I had to close both of them because the bank was closing out that type of
Does your
loan.
mother get Social Security, sir?
Yes, she does.
And she gets Medicaid that takes care of her medical expenses?
That's correct.
And she owns an apartment building with 12 units, and each apartment building roughly about $500 on each building.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, sir?
I have one sister.
So I would assume that with the exception of these CDs that she had for grandchildren, how many grandchildren are there?
There was 5 of us.
That most of your mother's assets, when she passes, are going to go to you and your sister. Is that right?
No.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry.
Talking to him?
No, it goes to me. I am the trustee of the account. All of her assets goes to me.
What about your sister?
My sister gets 25% of the net gross of the building of the money after all bills are paid.
When did your mother make a will?
My mother made a will in 1993, and then she revised it in 1995.
Okay. All right. Now, let me deal with your countersuit, Ms. Hayes.
Yes, ma'am.
You are countersuing your father because you say that he has misappropriated your grandmother's money.
That's correct.
Okay. Nobody made you the monitor of your grandmother's money.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Whether someone is violating their fiduciary relationship, and your father has what we call in the trade a fiduciary relationship with his mother, is something that is going to be dealt with at some point in surrogates court or a court where they handle estates. A judge in the surrogates court will also determine whether his mother, who he has acknowledged suffers from Alzheimer's, was able to revise a will in 1995, had the mental capacity to revise a will, and I would assume that your aunt, who is his sister, as well as whatever grandchildren there are who might have been mentioned in a prior will contest that will once it's filed and make a determination as to whether or not there has been another breach of fiduciary.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You just told me that your mother, who's 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's. So stop giving me a lot of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes and his daughter Carolanda are in court fighting over money left in a bank account by Carolanda's grandmother. Charlie claims his daughter had no right to withdraw the money.
Let me turn now to this issue before me. What is that, Mr. Hayes?
This is the contract that she stated she signed with the bank.
That's right here.
That she would return the money?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Now, if she did not return this money, all that they were going to do is withdraw it.
That's correct.
From the CD.
That's correct.
Now, according to your papers, sir, this CD was originally in your mother's name and trust for her.
That's correct.
Your name was not on it at all, as your mother had CDs for all the grandchildren.
She tried.
What you did, sir, was add your name, according to this, to each one of the CDs.
Only that one, Your Honor.
Why only this one?
Because I wanted to make sure that she paid it back, and if she went to the bank to get any money, I wanted them to notify me.
Well, but you know, what you've done here, sir, is you have added your name as a partner in this CD. Your mother really had no intention of making you a partner in this CD.
She knew about that.
Don't tell me what she knows. She knows nothing now. She's lucky
That's
for her
now.
that she knows. She knew nothing about what you did here, sir, because she had no intention of making you a third partner in this CD.
I took it to her and told her about this, Your
You
Honor.
just told me that your mother, who's 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's, sir. Stop giving me a lot of baloney.
No, I'm not.
One of the things that I'm saying to you is I'm distressed. I'm distressed because I don't understand why you as a parent, and your daughter has probably cost you a lot of money over the years.
Of
Or it
course.
cost your mother a lot of money. She's probably made some mistakes, and she has been indulged by an indulgent grandmother when she's run into financial difficulty. But what we're talking about is a father suing his daughter for money that really isn't even yours.
I don't want the money.
Well, what I'm asking you, Mr. Hayes, is
Why bring your daughter to court over this money, which is not, the truth of the matter is she could have taken out more. It wouldn't have been the right thing. But she could have taken out more than 50% of the money. She didn't. And I assume you have a couple of children?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a husband?
No, ma'am.
You work?
Yes.
What do you do?
Import and export.
How much do you earn?
$40,000 a year.
So you earn a reasonable living?
Yes, I do. But and rent is outrageous, and 2 kids, and childcare, and I'm barely.
Where are the father of these 2 children? Well, that's a smile. A smile isn't an answer.
One's in Louisiana. The other one, they take care of their children. But I'm just saying that it's difficult to raise 2 kids by yourself.
Okay. Listen, there comes a point when your family's going to stop bailing you out.
I have.
Your grandmother bailed you out. She gave you money before?
Yes.
She gave you money for $3,000, $1,600, or whatever.
But 2 of them were gifts. I graduated with honors from school.
I'm not suggesting that the $3,000 and the $1,600 weren't gifts by a grandmother. Say, yeah, take the money. If you can pay back, fine. If you can't, fine. Sir, it was your mother's intention that this young lady have this money.
Upon her death.
That's her intention.
That's correct.
That's her intention.
That's correct. I would like for her to have it upon her death. I love my daughter. I don't want to.
Who are you?
Your Honor, I'm her mother.
What do you have to add to this?
I have to add that I've also helped her and my son.
I don't need that information. It's irrelevant whether you help them. Listen to me.
Yes, sir.
It's irrelevant that you help them. You're supposed to help them. You're her mother.
Oh, yes, and I will.
Good. Nice. Sit down.
But that's not just it. I mean, she can contest that my father, he just abuses funds. He just goes
I'm not interested in that. Nobody made you your grandmother's money monitor. If you believe that your father is abusing his fiduciary relationship to his mother, go to court and seek to be appointed her guardian because he's abusing it, and then a judge will hear you and we will move on. But you cannot, madam, countersue for that.
I wouldn't bring my father to court.
So, well, you countersued, and I dismissed the countersuit because you have no basis for a countersuit unless you are the guardian of your grandmother.
What he's doing is just totally wrong.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Hayes, under the law,
yes,
your daughter did exactly what she had a right to do by taking out this loan.
What about
Under the law, she doesn't even have to pay it back because the account is in her name. And if she chooses to, she can let the loan default and she can let the CD be reduced by the amount of the loan. That is her right because her name is on this account. Do you understand, sir?
That's my fault.
Case dismissed.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He has 2 grandchildren who he never calls or never sees or never does anything for. So at least for them, it would be very essential for them to have a grandfather in their life. But he's neglecting all of that and going for the money.
That's not true. I own property. This lady has nothing to do with this court. She's just visiting from Louisiana. She don't
I'm his former
anything.
wife.
Yeah, and that's why she's
I know
former.
him. I know him.
I have other things I have to do with her in court. I will see her in court again. I love her very much.
জাদু দেখালো
যেমন
করেন
টুপুর দিকে শুধু নজর রাখেন আপনারা কি রে
আরে পড়দা চকলেট ভাই সার্ভার
यूजर है भाई तुम क्यों खेल तुइरा
सनी भाई कोई चॉकलेट भाई इस सर्वर में बहुत पैनल यूजर है पता है
हाँ मुझे पता था
उसमें हम लोगों को लेके गेम खेल रहे हैं
ये सर्वर पे हैकर को बैन क्यों नहीं करता मैं तो वही
अरे पता नहीं बच्चों है क्या बताया मॉनिटर कहां पर यार
बंद करो ये या क्या करोगे यार
अभी ये किलर है किलर भी पैनल यूजर बोलता है भाई और क्या बताऊं
अरे मारो
अरे बंदा मारो मैं तो वायरल हो गया यार हैक यूज करके मैं वायरल हो गया
है कि उसने पैनल यूज करके
अभी उतरा क्यों नहीं मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा था गेट अप का भी ऑप्शन आता है चॉकलेट में मार रहे वो कुछ कर ही नहीं रहा
क्या बताया
ये क्या हो गया मेरे साथ?
ये क्या बात
ये क्या हो गया यार?
আমি সব বডি বডি কিল করতেছি
ভাই যখন ভাই
হেডি
কোনো
ভাই
ম্যাচ দেখবো ভাই চকলেট ও আপনার নাম সিজি মুকুল চকলেট গেমার থাকবে তখন ই চলবো ই হইতো যে আমরা
ये
দেখতে
क्या?
পাচ্ছি আমাদের চকলেট ভাই সেই রোস্টার হয়ে সে হ্যাকার খেলতেছে
वो चॉकलेट भाई तुम टोपी क्यों नहीं दिखा रहे भाई टोपी क्यों हटा दी तुम अपनी
टोपी ओ टोपी क्यों नहीं हटाते हैं हम लोग?
नहीं नहीं टोपी क्यों हटा दिए भाई दिखाओ वापस
ओ दिखाऊंगा दिखाऊंगा, ये देखो ये देखो।
हाँ भाई ऐसे खेलो ना भाई
आप किधर पे रहते हो?
ভাই খেলবো না আমি ম্যাক্স 7 টা
इंडिया
একটা এনিমিকে মারতে পারি না
इंडिया किधर?
ये प्रयागराज यूपी साइड
এটা কি রিয়েল প্লেয়ার নাকি ইউজার কিলার
না ভালো প্লেয়ার এম10 আছে কিন্তু মাইটা দেব
আমার কাছে ইউএমপি আছে
अभी किलर के बस का नहीं है मैक्स 7 আছে
রেঞ্জ ফাইটেন লং রেঞ্জ পিছনে
एनिमी আছে হ্যাঁ এই জায়গায় আছে एनिमी আছে लोकेशन বলতে किलर गेम प्ले सुधार हैक यूज करना बंद करते हैं
আরে यार চুপ रह
फुल डैमेज मारो भाई क्या बोला किलर क्या
चुप 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 रहा करो
टैग करूं उसको टैग कर तुरंत बता दूं ऐसे
हाँ हाँ तुम टैग करो किसको करेंगे करो करो
क्या बात जो दो लड़की घुमाते हैं ना वही तुम
हाँ
तब
तुम
जान
टैग करो ना टैग करो
क्यों टैग
जल्दी
करूं भाई उसको
जल्दी जल्दी मैं उसको ले आऊंगा रुको मैं
बुलाओ
व्हाट्सएप
बुलाओ
पर कर
बिजी
रहा हूँ
बुलाओ
रुको
बुलाओ
व्हाट्सएप
तुरंत
पर कॉल दे रहा हूँ रुको
हाँ
तेरी
तुरंत बुलाओ
भैया तुमको गाली नहीं सुनाया तो मेरा नाम किला नहीं है
अब तो दे दिया मैं भी उल्टा गाली दे दूंगा फिर भाग ना जाए बस
ओके ओके ठियो मैं आना
देखना भी तुमसे दोस्ती खत्म ना कर दे मैं ऐसा बोल दूंगा
नहीं हमारे
ভাই
दोस्त
হাই
किसी
এর
नहीं
ভিতরে
देगा
পাঁচটা এনিমি
तो कोई से पांचटा कोई
তাই তো আমি ভাবতেছি
किलर भाई तुम
समझ
गाली
नहीं
देते हो
आता
उसको
था
डबल गाली
तेरी
दे
तो यार
जानती
वो
है
क्या क्या
क्या ए पीछे बुलाओ बुलाओ गाली उली
হ্যাকার 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 হ্যাকার
यार
अरे
कल
मत
नहीं
ये
उठा था यार तेरी तो यार
तातरी उठे गुलाल मारो
कैसा लगता है यार आज
नाइस
कल
नाइस
नहीं
नाइस
उठेगा तो मैं ब्लॉक कर दूंगा
करो ब्लॉग देखता
कर रहा हूँ रुक जाओ ना इतना जल्दी भी क्या है धक्का मुक्की नहीं करो
रुको जरा
भाई एदिকে
सबर
সেটা
तो
ফুল ড্যামেজ এদিকে একাটা দিছে মনে হয় আরে
আরে নু বেকার আমি আর ইউএমপি দা মারতে চাই ইদা মারছি তোমার যে নাম জানি না M41 ইলিয়া আমি মারা রাখাইছি
ওরে হিট আরে আমার গ্রেনেড আমি নক করলাম রিভাইভ দাও মুকুল ভাই পিছনে আরে মুকুল ভাই নিজের গ্রেনেডে ফাস্ট এনিমি আইতেছে
নিজের গ্রেনেড নিজেই
डान साइड एनिमी
क्रैश
मुकुल भाई डान साइड
क्रैश हो गए
পেন্ডিং হয়ে দিকে
ডাইনিং এ একটা এনিমি
উঠা দে
এখনো বসে আছে ওই তো ডান সাইডে
अबे रुको नॉक जा मैं एक बहुत सा
ब्रो
क्या खा के क्या मुंह लेके बात कर रहे हो यार
ए किलार स्नाइपर মানে কি
क्या हो गया?
कोई स्नाइपर